Good evening, one and all. It's Friday, it's the end of the working week, and it's time for us to jump into some more. I still don't have a nice simple title for this. More turning Warframes into D&D monsters, because it's not technically Dungeons & Dragons, but it is, and it's not technically Warframe, but it is, and welcome in. Welcome everyone. How are we all doing here today? Hope you're having a wonderful week, or if you haven't, well, at least it's the weekend now, so you can look forward to that all the same. But welcome in everybody. It feels like it's not actually been too long since we last had this on stream. I'm actually going to check. When did we last have this on stream? I'm immediately distracted. Let's see here. Yeah, it was only 3 weeks ago. It was only 3 weeks ago we last had this on stream. That is the quickest something has come around for a second stream in a long time. Discounting the one-off vote that happened a while back. Because that was a one-off situation. But yeah. So that's pretty cool. Rip cat ears deductive shoulder reveals. Yeah, you can look forward to the cat ears on Sunday. They're not coming back today. Sunday is the main stream. Anyway. And that's not every Sunday, that's just specifically the end of this weekend. After I'll say, D&D, one of those things I want to try, but I have no clue how. Well, I mean, it's really not that hard to get into individually. The single biggest problem, and this problem never goes away. Never. The single biggest problem is finding a good group. And that is a problem. Max was saying the filter you have at the waiting screen really goes well with the Ice Sculpture's void effect. Thank you. I honestly just messed with a couple details, put the recording together, and it just worked out. My collar feels really weird today. Don't know what is up with that. I think this shirt just doesn't like the weather. It generates a lot of static, this shirt. It's just an odd make. And when the weather turns, it just feels odd on the collar. Anyway, that is a massive distraction. My brain is all over the place today.
Hi,
watching dev stream?
Watching dev stream?
No, this is in fact, I'm just looking around here. That's, nope, definitely not a dev stream here. Definitely not a dev stream. I know that the dev stream is happening. It's probably happening right now if I remember my time zones correctly. But quite frankly, we can catch that later. I can catch that later. I'm not that fussed with catching the dev stream right at the moment it happens because they keep on scheduling it at the start of my streams, and quite frankly, poo to that. So, nah. It just started, yeah. They do ramble on a bit, I'll be quite honest. I know I say that, I'm rambling myself, but they ramble on enough that it is sufficient for me to catch the details later, and instead give the full 3 hours of this stream to making up the next set of Warframes nice and proper here. But thank you very much for subscribing at tier 1. Once again there, you're up onto 5 months. So for that, Bella, cheers. Cheers indeed. Yeah, you can have one of them open, have the dev stream open, get the drop running for that, and then come to the stream as well. That's fine, Zom. That's fine. So, for anyone who has no idea what the heck we're looking at here, and quite frankly there's going to be a lot of you, this is an ongoing project of mine to turn every single Warframe into a D&D monster, as in literally Dungeons & Dragons monsters. For example, this here is an Excalibur Initiate. I'm doing these all in 4 tiers, Initiate, Adept, Master and Prime, so that every Warframe can be introduced to almost any level of play. So if you've got lower level characters, they can fight the Initiates. If you've got God tier characters, they can fight the Primes, all the way through. On top of that, I am also keeping a very singular theme in that each tier unlocks the next ability. So the Initiate, as you can see here, has only Slash Dash for the Excalibur one, whereas the Adept also unlocks Radial Blind, the Master also unlocks Radial Javelin, and then the Prime also has access to the Exalted Blade spell. So that's why I'm bringing them together to make it accessible to all tiers of play. Now this has been a very, very long project. As you can see, we have got pages upon pages upon pages upon pages upon pages upon pages, pages of them. It's still going. Is there a specific order? So I'm going through them alphabetically. I started off with the 3 starter frames just as a, what do you call it? as a proof of concept, and then seeing as I was happy with that, continued on with them alphabetically since then. Skipping the ones which have come out since I've done their letter, I'll just have to get back to those ones. So, to get started, as I do with any new frame on a stream, we copy over the front page from the previous frame, because that also acts as a template to start putting it together. So we can go from Octavia on to Protea. We are on to Protea now. Is Gauss done? Gauss is done, yes. I've already covered Gauss on this. I don't think I streamed the making of Gauss, because if I only did them when I was streaming, this project would literally never get done. It takes me about, well, it takes me an entire stream to do one Warframe. Granted, that's me bouncing off everyone in chat as well, but yes. So that would take a very long time. A very long time. Protea. Protea, the Tinkerer. The crafter of time itself. No, the uncrafter of time itself, because Protea rewinds it. Throw in that little tidbit. Just putting in the intro description to Protea. Protea, the Tinkerer, the uncrafter of time itself. This Warframe is particularly adept at deploying destructive or restorative devices enchanted with void powers. Artificer Warframe, if there ever was one. So I'm going to have them as still be spells, keeping in with the spell lines, because I want all Warframes to have that standardized void power aspect. But otherwise, yes, thematically it can go down the Artificer route on. The very idea is keeping all Warframes within that paradigm of the void powers for the balancing purposes. Simply so they have a strong theme to fight against. When players deal with multiple Warframes, they have an idea as to where to start when fighting them. So it will still be spell-based, but the spells will be of a more Artificer lean to them, if that makes sense. Rather than, say, Mesa, who became a... what was it? What's the... rather much a Ghost Rider / Gunslinger combo. All necrotic flames and everything. So it'd be very different from that, despite using the same underlying mechanic system that I've created for them. So, yeah, so, basic little intro there. Protea, the Tinkerer, the uncrafter of time itself. This Warframe is particularly adept at deploying destructive or restorative devices enchanted with void powers. Which works. Wouldn't Protea just be a regular Artificer with time powers? If that's the way you want to make it a perverted cat, you can go and do that on your own time, absolutely. Or I could do it this way, to fit in with the entire rest of the document, which is currently 134 pages long. Just saying. Yeah. Fluff, that's for DMs to handle. Mechanics, that's where I come in. As opposed to the Wizards of the Coast way of doing it, which is where they put a little bit of fluff, and then put all the mechanics on the DM, and call that a $50 buck. Which you might gather from that I do not approve of. I just do not. Right, so with Protea going down that Tinkerer route then, I'm thinking of having her on a neutral armor side. Neutral armor, neutral hit points, and neutral on the speed actually. We don't need anything too amazing there. It's all going to be in the actual casting, so... keep her very much on the level, as it were. Doesn't need to have low armor, but doesn't need to have high. Again, hit points doesn't need low or high. Just very much on the level for this one. Why not? So, in terms of the stats then, standard stat array, which I have for just frames in general, is that they have very low charisma. Very few have stepped outside of that. Obviously, Octavia is going to be one of those. Protea is not going to be one of those. And Protea here will have a disastrously low -3, and that is by design. Almost all the initiatives will have a -3, which gives a lot of room for stats to be positives in the other places. I've got a total of +6 I can spread around. Intelligence definitely needs to be on the 16, but for the other +3, let's go for Let's go for... Hit the right number. There we are. A +1 to Dex and Con, 0 on the Strength using 10 on that stat. And then we can bump the Wisdom up. I'm going to put Wisdom 13 just to indicate it should be that little bit more leaning towards it. That gives us +1, +1, +3, +1, -3, which I think works out. And yeah, this is definitely going to be a case for an Arcana. For a skill proficiency, Protea, Arcana, I mean, that's just right up their alley, isn't it? It's gotta be. The question is, though, what other skill? So usually initiates have 2. Savior only got 1 because it was expertise. Let's go, yeah. Master of Time. History. History fits. Wonderful. In terms of the stats then, so for a Challenge 4, not Mastery 4, wrong game. Challenge 4, we're looking at AC 14, hit point 75 for a Standard. And Standard is specifically what I'm aiming for here. Let's go for that. 75 at a +1 Con is going to be slightly awkward. We'll go for 77, that fits. 75 is always just a guide, 77 ends up where we would need it to be. That'll be 14d8 plus 14, beautiful. Religion? No, not going religion on Protea. Protea with the very much Tinkerer approach. Religion doesn't seem to be the fit. Why did I get 2 emails right this second? Let me just mute my phone so it does not do that again. Were they important emails? No. What even... Right. I'm just not even going to go address that. I don't know why spam filters didn't even catch those ones. Okay, cool. Bullet jumping. All Warframes can bullet jump. Protea is no different. Protea may turn a jump into a bullet jump. Jump because if it had a run up and able to cover twice the distance. That is going to be a 6-foot vertical or a 20-foot horizontal at this level. 6 because it's strength mod +3, and then we double it. And 20 foot because it will be the strength score, and then we double it. Spy recovery, that is a Octavia thing. Now here's the thing, Protea's passive doesn't really fit. Protea's passive doesn't fit the paradigm that's been created for these in a D&D sense. We don't have characters casting enough spells to allow for a double strength thing. So what I was thinking is instead pushing that more along the lines of attacks. Quite literally, take it where when Protea has a crit, well, Protea can have a brutal critical. When critting, Protea does more. I think that captures enough of the intermittent nature of it. Yeah, it's not something that Protea can, as a monster, use. Let me just get rid of Mala as well, because Mala doesn't apply here. It just happens by chance, but, you know, good enough. It's meant to be kept simple. Also, Peng with the Hydrate, and hello, Choc. Yes, indeed. So, yeah. Give the passive of... What do we want to call this one? I was thinking something time-based. Temporal shift doesn't work. Temporal, even as a word, is going to be hard to fit in. Broken clock? Broken clock is right twice a day, you know. So trying to lean into that idea. Dealing with broken clock, broken time, chance based. Every now and then it just happens to be right, and that's when it's right. It lands the crits. Oh, sorry, when you land the crit, that's when you get the bonus. Skuko broken clock approach. Something engineer based. I don't know if you're answering the name of this passive that I'm coming up with, Choc, or something else entirely. I mean, you only just arrived and said hello, so I don't know if you even know what I'm trying to name here. Broken clock sounds good, yeah. Temporal opportunity. It's a bit wordy. A passive, which is you get extra... You roll additional dice on a crit. It does sound a bit wordy. Hello, Jason. It is indeed Protea time, yeah. Currently trying to figure out how I want to name the passive. Passive is going to be, on landing a critical hit, Protea deals more damage than usual. Which is to replace the fact that we're not going to have enough turns and enough actions to use the Warframe style passive approach. It just won't fit. But I'm trying to figure out how we can name it, for starters. Engineer's Mastery? Mastery for a chance-based mechanic feels a bit weird. Mastery is skill. Temporal Strike? I would want that for something more like a unique attack, if anything. Temporal Strike is a strike. And then a voice which just got the temporal bit there. So you see what I'm kind of in a loop on this one. It's like I've just got Proteus 4 going on and on and on. I mean, does the actual passive for Protea have a name? If I just have a quick look at Reno's on the wiki here. Passive doesn't have a name listed on the wiki. What if instead of going this time side, we go the Tinkerer side? Tinker's Special. Tinkerer's Special. I want either something on the Tinkerer side or something to capture the randomness and make it more intentional. Yeah, there's limited passive names. Not all of them get openly named. Inventor's Breakthrough? No. Oh, come on. This one's actually... I don't think this... I get stuck here. This is stupid. But I do want a proper name for it. Because the right name can set the tone for the entire development. Jason says, with passive grants power strength when it charges up, why not make it a recharge mobility, adds damage, whatever, starts with it can recharge 6 grants a bonus. You know what? That's actually not a bad shout. That's a completely different direction, Jason, and I like it. Yeah, I took the recharge mechanic out of Excalibur, but that's because it was used on the first spell, which didn't fit everything else. But for a passive, that can absolutely fit. Yeah, so then we don't have to rely on crits. It can be something that Protea declares, this is going to be twice as strong, but only when ready to activate it, and that's before seeing the roll, so it might just still flub anyway. And that helps balance it out so it's not superpowering crits. You know what, I like that, Jason. See, this is why you've got that star next to your name, Jason. You're really connected to this project. You understand the mechanics of what we're making here. So now we just need a name for that, yes. But now we've got something with a different theme. Something much more intentional. We just need a moment of inspiration. How's that? Moment of inspiration. Something that kind of zones in on those Tinkerer's breakthroughs, those moments that actually work out. It's a jolt of power that Protea is intentionally putting into things. It is a moment of inspiration. Think something overdrive could work? I can see that as well. But like, I can't bring the two together, so we'd have to do double what I just came up with there. If you can think of something, Jock, that fits the overdrive, we'll give it a look in. But I'm going to stick with the moment of inspiration now. Moment of inspiration. Recharge on 5 to 6. So roughly every 3 turns. Roughly every 3 turns. Protea ever tinkering for maximum results on making an attack or casting a spell Protea may use the moment of inspiration feature to enhance the effect. Any damage rolls or dice any dice rolls for damage or healing are rolled twice and added together. Any dice rolls for damage or granting temporary hit points, because that's what shields are often used in this document. Granting temporary hit points are rolled twice and added together. This feature must be used before any attack rolls or saving throws are made. There we are. Judge must say, MO, I feel like using spheres of power might alternate systems with one eye. Alright, fair enough. Well, Dungeon Master, if you want to do your own project, go right ahead. We're at page 134, according to this document. I'm not going to switch system at this point. So, sure. If you want to put Warframes into Pathfinder 1E, you go right ahead on that. I'm not switching system. Okay, moment of inspiration. Recharge 5/6. Protea is everything green for maximum results. On making an attack or casting a spell, Protea may use the moment of inspiration feature to enhance the effect. Any dice rolls for damage or granting temporary hit points are rolled twice and added together. This feature must be used before any attack rolls or saving throws are made. Any dice rolls or damage or granting temporary hit points from that action. No. From that attack or spell, to be very clear, are rolled twice and added together. So, say Protea is like, I'm going to stab, and I'm going to use the moment of inspiration. It's going to give double damage. Yeah, it's not a Protea ability. It's fine. Works well enough. Goes to a stab, puts the moment of inspiration in. Haha, it's going to be double damage roll. And so the players then have something they can react to. Like, oh, what is this moment of inspiration thing? We don't know about double damage rolls, but we can see that Protea is charging up something. Let's put something extra in to block it. Play and counterplay. Likewise, DM says, yeah, Protea's casting a spell, and you see it's charging up. It's putting extra power into this one. They go, well, I'm counter-spelling that one. Bit of give and take with the players there. So, Jason, honestly, that was a great bit of inspiration for yourself there for the recharge 5/6 Protea there. It just completely changes what the ability can be, and I like how that comes out. We had a moment of inspiration. Which brings us now onto Protea's actual first ability, which is, of course, Grenade Fan. It's got the Shrapnel Vortex and the Shield Satellite, and I have a way to accommodate both of them. Just keep an eye on the different deets here. Yeah, let's go with that. Grenade Fan. So this is going to be considered a spell, it's going to be an action, and it's going to have the bog standard duration of 1 minute. I like to keep things simple with these things. It's a grenade fan, it sets up zones, we're going to just have a minute duration on it, which means that it is effectively going to last a normal encounter. Encounters can be as short as sometimes 2 rounds, typically 3 to 5 rounds, at the longest 10 rounds, and the minute is 10 rounds, so the encounter. Alright then. Protea hurls out an array of devices of its own creation, infused with void power. I mean, fair enough, Penguin, yeah. Sometimes the players just absolutely know for the encounter the DM sets them, they go, well, it's dead. I don't get that all too often, but it can happen. It can happen. Anyway, Protea hurls out an array of devices of its own creation infused with void power. Devices land in scattered locations, covering an effective area. Now let's, rather than I was thinking first an affected area, a cone, but actually let's just designate a clustered spot. And let's do that as a... I'm going to treat it, for simplicity's sake, rather than the multiple grenades we throw out and multiple individual things latching on or causing multiple spheres of doom. I feel like it should create 3 independent 2x2 zones for doing damage. So 2 square by 2 square. You're thinking 5-foot radius. Yeah, we can do that. That shouldn't be too much for a DM to handle in an encounter. Yeah, that should be fine. That should be fine enough to track. Let's do that. Devices. Each device lands in a spot. Our Proteas choosing within... What range do we want to give on the throw? Not want it too far. Let's go 45 feet. We can level it up on higher tiers, but yeah. Each device lands in a spot Protea's choosing within 45 feet. So it said Protea hurls out Protea hurls out 3 devices of its own creation infused with void power. Each device lands in a spot Protea choosing within 45 feet. For each device, Protea chooses one of the following effects. So we can have device latches on to the nearest creature. No, device latches on to a Protea and allies. Latch on to Protea, or it's the device latches on to nearest ally within 5 feet. Where it lands. Granting the target some amount of temporary hit points. Ooh. Apparently my brain is not working today because Jason is bringing out lines we need. Protea, one of its allies. Yeah. I swear I slept last night, I swear. Honestly. Apparently not. Device latched onto Protea or one of its allies within 5 feet of where... Yeah, it's fine. That pronoun's fine. Lands granting the target X temporary hit points. If these hit points... when these hit points are depleted... When these temporary hit points are depleted, target gains resistance to all damage until the start of its next turn. So that's to kind of emulate the improved shield gating that you get with Protea's Grenade Fan. I don't want to make them immortal. I don't want to give just a solid bar. Nope, you can do nothing to this creature now, like a full shield gate. But instead, it's kind of a... It's more similar to the Corpus shield gate, where they take less damage on their health whilst you're hitting through the shield gate. So just until the start of its next turn, for that moment, it has resistance to all damage, which Protea can cast on itself. Corpus with a shield gate? Yeah, the Corpus have a shield gate. If you don't headshot them or hit them with a ability, then they gain 95% resistance to damage for the duration of their shield gate. If you hit them hard enough, you'll still kill them. If you hit them a headshot, no shield gate. And if you hit them with ability damage, no shield gate. But hit them with normal damage, non-headshot, you'll hit 95% resistance at the end of their shields, which is why Corpus seem to survive non-toxic shots a lot more easily than you might expect, given the damage numbers we're putting out there. That's what's actually happening. But if you're not noticing, you're not noticing. Fair enough. If no suitable target is within range, the device hovers above the hovers in place until one comes into range or the spell duration ends. And then the other option is the device, oops, capital H, device rapidly disassembles, throwing out a shower of blades and shrapnel. So yep, I figured this was not going to fit. That's fine, I can double line these. Need a line break in there? Oh yep, didn't do the line break. Good catch, thank you. There we are. So device rapidly disassembles, throwing out a shower of blades and shrapnel. In a sphere of a radius. Let's see, the Protea grenades, they have a radius of... yeah, 5 meters. That's about 15 feet. It's pretty large. Pretty large. For the encounter sizes you get in D&D, I think that's a 15-foot radius would probably be a bit too much for this. So I'm going to go for a 10-foot radius and we can level up on the higher tiers. For challenge 4, 10-foot radius on up to 3 of these devices is enough. So yeah, device rapidly disassembles, throwing out a shower of blades and shrapnel in a sphere of radius 10 feet. Until the spell ends, any creature that starts its turn in the area, in the area, or enters it for the first time on a turn, must make a dexterity saving throw. DC on that is going to be 13, because that's intelligence bonus plus 3, proficiency plus 2, and then the base number, which is 8. I know you said 5 foot, Josin, but I'm saying 10 foot on that, partly because thinking of the actual ability itself in game, and partly because if it was a 5 foot radius, as you say, a 2x2 area, sure, we can hit 3 of these 2x2 areas in a closed space. That's great. If we've not got corridors and doorways, if you're not in just a small box room, that actually doesn't have much of an effect. Now, 5 foot radius, that's 10 foot across. It just doesn't have a lot of coverage. Think the Cloud of Daggers ability. Not ability, a spell. The Cloud of Daggers spell is frankly underwhelming unless you can find ways to force creatures into it, and Protea's not going to have that. Protea's straight up not going to have that. So outside of saying, well, Protea should find someone to do it for them, Protea needs a bit more area to work with. That's where I'm going with that. I should also say, because all Warframes I'm angling towards, or most Warframes I'm angling towards, no friendly fire. So any non-friendly creature that starts its turn in the area or enters it for the first time on a turn must make a dexterity saving throw. On a failed save, the creature takes some amount of slashing damage, or half as much on a successful save. Creatures can only be damaged by 1 device per turn. So that's to stop Protea casting all 3 of them on one spot. Say if the party are grouped up, put all 3 there, triple slashing, that would be excessive. The idea is to be a grenade fan. So we want to dissuade DMs from doing otherwise. That's what that line's there for. Okay. Bit of a long spell for the first first one on here. And a long passive ability as well. So I'm going to try and keep the others a little bit less long-winded. We'll see what we can manage on that. Now this is going to need some tinkering in terms of where the pages actually turn up as well. So I do that, and I need to do that. There we go. So that fits there. This can slip onto this side. It looks fine enough. The Protea's void abilities, intelligence, all these same stats. We don't. Now, question is, do I want to give Protea a magic basic attack as a tinkerer? I don't think I should. I don't want to give too many magic basic attacks out there. I've given Octavia one all the way through, a unique one called Discord, a ranged spell attack, which does psychic damage to the target's mind. I feel like that fits enough of Octavia's theme. I've done similar for Nyx. I think Volt, did I? No, I think it was Gyre I gave an electric basic attack to. But Protea, I think Protea should be a bit more physical when the attacks. A bit more mundane. But still tinkery. So, not going to go with the spell then. A ranged weapon attack. Now, Protea has the glaive. Yeah, Zoris is kind of Protea's thing. What other weapons came with Protea? Was it just Zoris or anything else? That is a signature Velox, the wiki tells me. Velox, which is quite frankly weird. I don't have a space in my head for the Velox. It's just a... Is it just a slash sidearm? Yeah, it's just a slash sidearm. Okay, that's the thing. Yeah. With armor efficiency, yeah. Imagine Protea just eating random gizmos. That's literally what Protea does. Just kind of goes, grenades, go. Turret, up. Dispensary, go. And, time, click. which doesn't really make sense when you think about it. All the rest is gizmos, and then she just suddenly has power over time because it fit the theme of the Granum Void. I don't really get that tinkering bit, but it's what Protea is, so it's what Protea is. Random bullshit go? Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, Protea has, as much as Uranie is in her own comic, Protea is a fan of Moon Knight. Basically. Speaking of Zoris, is Zoris better than regular glaive? Regular glaive? I can't remember regular glaive, to be quite honest. I moved on from it very quickly. Especially as when I was leveling it, glaives were terrible. So, I don't know. Snake Raider, I don't know. Zoris does have a much bigger range and force electric rather than, I think, forced impact. So, probably. Probably. Oh, I haven't updated this. Grenade fan. There we are. You know what? I've changed my mind on the stats here. I'm going to take one out of the con. Full neutral it. Switch this to +1 on the dex. If we are going to go for the physical attacks, we need physical attack stats. So let's make that happen. Means I need to recalculate the hit points. And luckily it's only a minor recalculation, 76. 17d8 plus nothing. There we go. That'll be fine. So that opens us up. You know what? Do we want to go with... I don't make sense because you just flip anytime she rolls. True, yes. Must remember acrobatics on the next tier then. Just straight up repeating crossbow. Repeating crossbow. There we are. A ranged weapon attack. So this is going to be a +4 to hit. A little bit on the low side. Range. So let's give it a damn good range. Let's make that where this stands out. Short range on the spells, but long range on the weapon. So I'm actually going to copy heavy crossbow. I'm going to take it all the way up to heavy crossbow tier. Heavy crossbow in 5e has a range of 100 to 400. It sounds great to me. So range 100 to 400. Feet. One target. And the hit on that. Come on, standardized. There we are. Hit on that. So if I'm using the heavy crossbow stats, 1d10 plus 2 is 7. Which is not enough. Even if we did that 3 times over, that'd be 21 damage, which, well, still a little bit meh. But we can also rely on Moments of Inspiration. Sorry, yeah, Moments of Inspiration and Grave Fan to help us out here. So, let's give multi-attack for 2 attacks. Multi-attack. Protea makes 2 attacks with its repeating crossbow. Give it a melee weapon attack as well. Now, do we want to go for Protea Rapier? No, too fancy. Short sword. You don't get the full power of Rapier. Screw you, Protea. You just get a short sword. But 4 damage is absolutely tiny, so I'll allow multi-attack with both. Yeah, both. Welcome back, Jock. Okay, now we need to bounce back up here and figure out the numbers then I've been skipping out over here. In terms of the temporary hit points, don't want to overpower it. So, let me think. How much... So this could throw out 3 devices. We got 3x already. So what if we put into X? It's going to happen up to 3 times over. It's going to be waiting long enough that all of them are going to get used. Now, if Protea does use them all for temporary hit points, we're not getting any damage out of it, which we can effectively trade tie for tie. So if we figure out the damage, we can have the temporary hit points match the damage that's not being done. I think for balancing, that should work out. Downside is damage can happen multiple times, turn after turn after turn. Alright. I think for mathing this out, let's assume that all the grenades, if they do damage, they land, they deal damage, and after that, whoever's in the damage zone steps out of them. We're going to get 3 creatures with them, because 3 grenades being thrown at 3 distinct locations, and then that's it, damage done. After that, Protea's remaining attacks are just repeating crossbow per turn, which we're going to get 14 per turn. So, 14 twice over is 28 damage. For a monster of this level, we would be looking at a total damage across 3 rounds of 75, not counting hit chance. Our hit chance is actually a bit low. Quite low. And we do have the moment of inspiration to double damage, which would go onto the grenade fan most likely. So we'll factor into the equation. So it's 75 expected, minus 28 current. We'll look at a 47 we want to get out of the grenade fan. Assuming it's moment of inspiration, let's halve that. We're looking at 24 damage. And split across 3 creatures. We go for 8 on each of them. That would get us there. I'm going to bump that to 9, just as a matter of course. Because we can get 9 out of 2d8. And that is how you do the math on this. Which means then I'll also give the temporary hit points a 9 2d8 approach. So I'm just going to double check and make sure I've not done that stupidly. Chalk's come up with the thought of power overdrive, power can jump to both power of gadgets, and strength, which she attacks. Overdrive because it has to be charged and boost the effects. Power of drive. I agree, Chalk, it is a very simple name. Power overdrive feels like it can fit pretty much anything. Moment of inspiration, still a bit broad, but it is a bit more focused on having those bursts of thought or intellect, which Protea Tinkerer. Whereas Power Overdrive, it really, yeah, it's as you say, it's simple. But I appreciate you thinking it further through on that, job. I do. Alright, let's triple check that I've got this right. So, assuming turn 1, Protea uses Moment of Inspiration, 3 grenades, sends them out, hits 3 different creatures, so we get 2d8 3 times over, doubled, so it's 48 3 times over. 2d8 averages to 9, so it's 18 3 times over, that's 54 damage, turn 1, but also spread across creatures. 54 damage happens. After that, all the creatures, they step out the zones if they know what's good for them. Excuse me. So after that then, we've just got the repeating crossbow, which is likely not going to get the recharge in time. So we'll get 7, 14, and then again 7, 14. 54 plus 14 plus 14 comes out to 82 damage. That's actually that's a bit more than I was expecting. But even then, actually no, that's fine, because that averages out to 27 a turn. I was aiming for 25, 2 extra damage on that, 10% over. Pff, that's fine. Considering that Protea is also down in the hit chances here, that's fine. And if the fight continues beyond that, we've got the Moment's Inspiration, can turn one of these 7s into a 14 on average. If Protea gets a crit, it can get absolutely monstrous. So if anything, keeping that low is for the best, because otherwise someone could just instantly get blapped by a basic crossbow. Yeah, fair do, Pence Penguin. Fair do. Now let's see, if things do go crazy, how crazy could this get? You land a hit with a repeating crossbow, it's a crit, so we're at 2d10 plus 2. It's Moment of Inspiration, so it's 4d10 plus 2. So that averages out to 24 damage. Ooh! Plus the follow-up 7. on average. Okay, yeah, that's pretty nasty. Considering that's a basic attack, it can double stack into doing 31 with the multi-attack in a turn. Alright then. I think that's just scary enough to make the players think twice. They go, well, we know how Warframes work. They've used the passive, they used the spell. We're good now. Comes off recharge, bam. Not good now. Not good now. So yeah, I think that works. I think that works. It's very basic in terms of the stats, and then very not basic in terms of the ability you have access to. Unhighlight, please. Please. Please unhighlight, thank you. Don't know why there's that. Right then. Let's continue crafting. I don't want all of that. I didn't want to shrink that. I'm really bad at clicking today. As if I'm good at aiming. Alright then, so we carry this down as a template to the next page. We change the formatting like so to recombobulate it. There we are. And I have done this slightly wrong. There it is. That looks correct. They say, what would be awesome is when Protea lays out those grenades on 3 sides, as a back to the wall, shoot with impunity against marshals. Oh yeah, absolutely. Protea can absolutely set those grenades on herself. She can put down one to the left, one to the right, overlapping enough to just kind of get a good coverage. And then one shield satellite, because this Protea can choose to do different ones at the same time, remember. Protea gets additional hit points. Once those are broken, Protea gets resistance until Protea's next turn. And Protea has just all those damaging zones operating there. It's supposed to look nasty, and I think it achieves exactly that. This is a Tinkerer who knows what's going on. Protea is, however, very weak to ranged attacks. Because, well, what's Protea's punishment of a ranged attacker? Not really anything. Protea has a repeating crossbow. Whoop-de-frickin-doo-dah. So yeah. That does put Protea a bit of a difficult spot there, but that's fine. Protea Adept is going to step on top of that. So we're going to level up to the Adept now. With the Adept, I'm going to keep all these basic stats neutral. I'm quite happy to keep those along the level. Don't need to rock this boat. Speed I won't be increasing right now. Stats we'll figure out in a moment. The challenge rating is going to be a 9, because that's what I aim for with these ones. All the challenge rating stuff is something I will adjust in playtesting once the document's all done. In terms of the stats, what typically happens for the standard frames is they go up to a -1 in charisma, and then we get, what's that, 6 pluses to put on the rest. I'm thinking 2 of them into dexterity, and 1 into everything else. Which brings dexterity to match the intelligence. I'm going to make intelligence 19. It doesn't change the numbers, but it changes how it comes across. And to balance that, I'm only going to put this to 14. And that about works. That comes up, but it lies. I'm fine. And with that stat array then, we've got acrobatics to match him with Protea's dodge animation. It's going to be a +8. Arcana is a +8. History is a +8. Well, isn't that nice and simple? And Protea's going to get a saving throw. I'm going to put the first one into Dex. I know that seems a bit min-maxy, but you know what? I don't often do min-maxy approaches here, so let's do that for Protea. Protea is a Dex. Still middle ground AC, still no way to kind of generate cover and whatnot, so Protea is still vulnerable to ranged martial attacks, but now Protea is something against ranged spell stuff. That's good. That is a balancing act right there, which I think everyone should be okay with, except for the players, and they don't get to complain because they're dead. Modes of Inspiration is completely level independence. We can just leave that one as is. Grenade Fan, I'm going to start increasing the range it can be cast at. And we'll change damage stats in a bit. The DC needs to increase. That's now DC 16. The plus to hit, we'll keep it around now, but it didn't need to exist on this one. So I'm going to remove that for clarity's sake. Exactly, Ray. Yeah, it does. And that was exactly Zom's idea. I think it was Zom. Was it you, Zom? Hold on. I haven't said anything. No, yeah. Yeah, Zom said high dex makes sense since she does a flip anytime she rolls. Yeah, that was Zom's idea. Zom gets the credit on that one. Zom gets the credit on that one. Okay. Let's figure out all the stats down here, and then I'll add in the new spell. So this is going to be a +8 to hit. That's a nice jump up, in fact. That catches up with where the plus hits should be, so that's very good. And the short sword is a +8 as well. The 2 hit. 1d10 plus 4 is a 9. 1d6 plus... Did I leave that as a +1 earlier? Oops, that should have been a +2. My bad. And fixed. And this is why I use the template, because also when I update the template I realise, right, I got the previous bit wrong. So that's now a 7. There we are. Don't need to change anything else on that just now. We'll come back to the numbers in a moment. Okay, so we have got Blaze Artillery. So this is going to be a spell. This is going to be... Considering I want this to be the most damaging ability, I'm going to keep it to a full action. So spell, 1 action, and... Do we go for a very short duration? To match how Blaze Artillery does have a typically exceedingly short duration, do we just make it last until the end of Protea's next turn? That's going to make sense. Actually, we can go a different route. We'll give it up to 1 minute, but give it a fixed number of shots. So it can fire as many times as there are creatures it can fire at. So if there's only 1 creature, alright then. 1 creature, and next turn, same creature, and next turn, same creature. To spread out the damage across creatures, or spread it out over time. Either which way, it's not going to be overloading one individual with all of the damage. Go for a shot basis. How's building Protea going? It's going, Cosmo. It's going. So yeah, if we give the Blaze Artillery a duration again of 1 minute, but once it's out of shots, it's out of shots. It will despawn. Protea will have to recall it, not despawn. That's how it already works? That's not how it already works, Ray. That is definitely not how it already works. How it already works is on a timer, and it'll just keep shooting until the timer runs out. Unless there's nothing to shoot at. Very, very different mechanic. Protea in Pathfinder 2e next? Ha ha ha! Nope. Nope. Because this project is only partway done. I'm turning all Warframes into D&D monsters. I'm only on Protea. I say only. That's actually quite far into the project. Yeah, Chalk, yeah. So, the question is then, how many shots to give it? Because the other thing is that Protea in Warframe has a scaling effect on it. Every time it fires a shot, the next shot has more damage. You know what we can do? Penalise trying to hide from it and have just one person tank it. By having the damage be D4 on the first turn, D6 on the second turn, D8 on the third turn, D10 on the fourth turn, and D12 turn 5 onwards. Use that as the ramping mechanic. So if it's firing more shots in the same turn, we're spreading out a smaller amount of damage. But if instead everyone bails out of the way and just leaves one person to try and tank it, the damage stacks up and they realise, oh, we've made quite the hell of a mistake here. For those in the know, you get the benefit. For those not in the know, you act against your own best interest there. Create something weird, very tinkered with. Something that sounds like a mad invention. Because it is. The question is, can I write it in a nice way? Damage increases each turn or each shot? Each turn, Choc. So, rather than having to count up each turn and rolling it, each shot and rolling out different rolls, we can have it where it fires out an array. And then next turn, if it's got more shots left, it fires out a more damaging array. And then next turn, a more damaging array, and so on. And if I give it, say... If I give it 8 shots... Well, if I'm going with the D4 approach, let's take the D4 and run with it, figure out how many shots we need to hit the damage numbers we're aiming for here. Because that's also part of where the scaling can come in then, is that we can tweak the number of shots to match the intended damage scaling based on what kind of creatures we expect Protea to have to deal with. So we're going to be a bit wishy-washy, hoping for the best in terms of numbers, but, well, all of it is. Let's face it, 5e isn't exactly the most strict game when it comes to these stats. That's why I can make these so freeform. Protea deploys a pair of enchanted miniature cannons. Cannons exist, so we can say cannons. Protea deploys a pair of enchanted miniature cannons to hover in a space adjacent to it. Hover in an empty space adjacent to it. On casting, Protea chooses a direction for the cannons to face. Also, the D number makes it possible to roll all low numbers, which kind of defeats the idea of ramping damage. If you get low numbers, you get low numbers. That's D&D, Ray. Sometimes you roll poorly. Sometimes you roll amazingly. If it rolls poorly, think of it like the TF2 headcanon a lot of people have. Which is that, what do you call it? Yeah, the guns just don't work in TF2. That's why they seem to have relatively low damage. Crits of them actually working correctly. Ray's suggesting, why not do D4, then 2D4, 3D4, and so on. If we go with that approach, the first wave of attacks is going to be really low. Second wave, twice as powerful, rather than potentially only 50% more powerful. Third lot are going to be triple the power of the first lot, rather than twice the power on average, and so on. Not sure if I like that. Because I think by turn 5 of your approach, we'd have gone into 5d4, whereas my approach would have gone to d12. So with yours, we've got literally 5 times the average damage output, whereas mine would be... Is it d12 at that point? 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Yeah, 12. So it'll be 3 times. So you've got a harsher scaling on yours. Now, the problem with harsher scaling is that that can get out of hand. If I clamp the scaling, then the earlier shots are still damaging, and the later shots aren't as overwhelmingly more powerful. That's kind of the aim I'm going for there. Other ranged touch attacks? Okay, ranged touch attacks don't exist in this, Ray. It'll be ranged spell attacks. Jason, I was considering that shots against different targets would be the same damage per turn. So, later turns, more damage. The guns heat up over time kind of deal. So it's an alteration from the per shot approach to the per turn approach. One, it makes it easier to track which dice you're rolling. And then two, it just gives it a different way of trying to handle it. The party then has to decide, well, do we put everyone in the way of this damage so that no one gets independently absolutely blasted to oblivion? face tank the early shots, burn out the guns early. So as much as D4, 2D4, 3D4 looks cleaner in terms of writing it out, I think that swings the damage in the wrong direction. Ray suggesting D4, D6, 2D4, 2D6. See, now that's going to be a pain to write out as well. Dragon Knight saying change scaling to be a flat +1, +2, +3. Actually, yes. No, I like that. Dragon Knight listening to everything and plucking the simple answer out of the air when we're all talking about different die sizes and whatnot. Dragon Knight's just on it. That works. It has the exact same average of what I was aiming at there, but gives us a scaling without the issue Rose pointing out of it being a little bit too random, perhaps. See, this is why I'm happy to stream making these, because you guys often come up with ideas which are just a little bit better than what I've got going on there. And I appreciate you all for that. Right then, so now I've got the numbers fixed out, let's actually make this. And then that's also going to be a lot easier for just figuring out how much damage output to expect. Alright. On casting, Protea chooses direction for the cannons to face. On casting. And at the start of each of Protea's turns for the duration, the cannons will fire on any number. Fire on all non-friendly in a, let's go 60 foot chosen direction. The cannons can fire a total of X times immediately returning to Protea if fully expended, ending the spell early. Okay, so far, let me just make sure my wording's simple enough here. Protea deploys a pair of enchanted miniature cannons to hover in an empty space adjacent to it. On casting, Protea chooses direction for the cannons to face. On casting at the start of each of Protea's turns for the duration, the cannons will fire on all non-friendly creatures in a 60-foot cone in the chosen direction. The cannons can fire a total of X times, immediately returning to Protea if fully expended, ending the spell early. Jason said, will fire on all sounds like it hits everyone at once. May want to use will fire on any. Each. How's that for a different word then? Rather than all, which you're saying gives us the impression of it being a super hit. I thought the range was 60 foot. It's a 60-foot cone, so it's kind of a range of 60 foot at the same time. The cone dictates the angle. Because just like in Warframe, we've got an angle that it can affect. It's about the same angle, actually. So the cannons can't turn around to shoot something in the other direction. If Protea makes a mistake, points it one way and the players are the other, that's Protea's problem. Yeah, I think that should work there. So. Yeah, it's multiple targets, Jason, but it's still firing multiple shots, and I'm going to be making it clear the cannons fire a fixed number of times. And that's that. I mean, Jason, aside from quibbling over the minutiae of a word, I'm not sure what you think I can do differently with that. We want to make it clear the cannons fire multiple times. We want them to fire on all creatures that are targets. And we're going to then specify a maximum number of times they can fire. I don't see how you can really differently say that. You think of one shot per turn? Oh no, sorry. I thought I had been explicit on that. Yeah, everyone who's in range gets hit once per turn. Next turn, if there's anyone in range, they get hit again, but now with more damage. Anyone in range on the next turn, they get hit again with yet more damage. That's the scaling. Anyway, so we've got that. The cannons can fire some total number of times. Immediately returning to Protea fully expended, ending the spell early. So unlike the Warframe duration basis, this one has a max charge basis, which also makes up for the fact that fights can finish in 2 turns. Right, the whole cannons end thing, I'm going to put that as a separate line at the end, just so it kind of stands proud from the rest of the information here. Yeah, on casting, and at the start of each Protea's turns, for the duration, cannons will fire on each non-friendly creature in a 6-foot cone in the chosen direction. For each creature, make a ranged spell attack. That is a +8 to hit. On hit, each creature takes 2 brackets 1d4. And we'll see if 1d4 is enough in a moment. We'll scale up. Fire damage +1 additional damage of each round this spell has been active. Jason, sounds nice, not a good plan. Reason on that? The reason I'm not going for the proficiency ×2 is that we haven't yet checked if that's going to fit the damage output we want from Protea. So what you come up with sounds nice, might not actually fit the character at all. Neither here, nor maybe at higher levels. Gotta watch out for those kinds of traps. What we're looking for in damage output from Protea is an average of 45 damage per round across the first 3 rounds for this level. Now, I've not made any changes so far to Grenade Fan, Moment of Inspiration. Moment of Inspiration, we can imagine, might get used up Blaze Artillery, so we need to factor that into things. If we're doing 2d4, let's assume that we get 2 characters each turn. The reason I'm sticking with 2 characters is that's the standard approach for balancing AoE effects. Assume that it hits 2 characters, unless it is very, very likely to hit more than 2. This one's not very, very likely to hit more than 2, so I'm going to go with 2 as the mathematics here. If we go with 2, first turn with 1d4, that's 5 damage. That's pathetic. We're going to ramp up those numbers. The second turn would be total 7 damage. We're at 12. And the third turn would be, say, 5, 7, 9. We're at a total of, what's that, 21 damage. Even if we use the Moment of Inspiration, that's 42 damage across 3 turns. That's pretty shit. 42 across 3. Grenade Fan cast on the second turn is going to be adding in 27. And then on the last turn, Repeating Crossbow is currently at 9, so that'll be 18. That'll be 87 damage in 3 turns. And I'm looking at trying to get 135. We're a bit short. Yeah, we're a bit short there. We are a bit short, so let's just whack up the numbers. Let's make this... let's see, we've been using D8s on the Grenade Fan. Let's use D8s on this as well. I'm going to just randomly throw in a different set of numbers here. So if we took that to 2d8, Make it 9. And then plus... Yeah, I like Ray's idea of going +2 per turn here. So we can do 9, assume 2 characters hit, and assume Moment of Inspiration is active. 9, we'll just double with the Moments of Inspiration after. So we got 9 for 2 creatures, that's 18. And then we got an extra 2 damage twice, that's 4, so it'll be 22. And then 26. That's 66 damage from it. Double that, that's 132. Oops, we've gone too far. Because then we'll still have the rest come in. Alright then. Yeah, I need this to do closer to 90 damage from a cast. 132 is a bit much. Let's see, if I'm needing 90, half that to take out the Moment of Inspiration, and then divide by 3. I'm aiming for average 15, so I want it to be something like 13, 15, 17 across 2 characters, or 2 characters and double down that way. 14, 16, 18. Which would be per character 7, 8, 9. So 2d6 plus 1. There we go. That brings it backwards. Ray saying dual cannon, so maybe 2d6. Well, you got to the answer, but not quite the way to go about it. Yeah. So just double, triple, quadruple checking the mathematics here. 2d6 is 7. We're hitting 2 creatures. 14. Moment of Inspiration makes that 28. That's turn 1. Turn 2. We get the... What do we call it? 2d6 for the 7, which is actually 14, which is actually 28. But there's also a +1. So 2d6 for 7 on average. +1 for 8. 2 creatures, that's 16. And Moments of Inspiration is actually 32. That's going to happen simultaneously to casting Grenade Fan. And if we use all 3 for damaging, currently that's going to be 9, 9, 9. To 3 creatures. That's 27. And then turn 3, Grenade Fan has been used. We're assuming that people will be able to step out of those zones but still be in the Blaze Artillery, because the Blaze Artillery has a much higher effective range or area, which I think is valid, so we'll run with it. I might be wrong. That's why Blaze is going to come in. So the Blaze Artillery still firing. That's now going to be hitting for 2d6 plus 2, so that's an average of 9, 18, and then double Moments of Inspiration, 36. And on that turn, Protea will multi-attack for 2 lots of repeating crossbow for 18. Comes out to a total damage of 141. And I was aiming for 135. That's pretty darn close. I will take that. That's on the balance. It is very avoidable in the Blaze Artillery. You can walk around it. It is also able to scale immensely. The Grenade Fan, we're treating it as pretty avoidable. Also might not be used for purely damage, but gaining hit points is the same as dealing damage. Enough in the balance, so we can run with it. Ish. If there's anyone here I haven't lost yet, does that all make sense? Let's add this on here. I am going to call Blaze Artillery a... With that damage output and scaling, that's not 5th level. That's a 4th level spell. Is it 4th level? Actually, I mean, technically it can hit. No, but it's individual hits. Yeah, no, that's a 4th level spell. Despite having the damage output we're looking for, that is staunchly 4th level. I can't rate that as 5th level, no. I wouldn't put it as low as 3rd, so that's one giving 4th. Right. 1 per short rest, grenade fan, blaze artillery, multi-attacks, and attacks in bits and pieces. Those are all correct now. Once Protea's fired off its abilities, it's down to just basic attacks, which is what usually happens for spellcasters. It'll have 18 per round. Occasionally it'll have 27 per round. Mostly it's going to be going eek. It'll be scared shitless at that point because it's out of power. Something that's trying to get 45 average, yeah, down to 18, 27 will be... yeah, that's good. Alright, just need to check the hit points. Hit points looks wrong at the moment. That's 135 divided by 5.5, 24 something. Let's go with 24. 132. Cool. Welcome back, Enforcer. And hello there, Spiky. Yeah, I think all those stats are on the level now. Let's move on to the Master. We're making good time as well. I'm happy with that. Alrighty then. Protea Master. So, for this one, I think the AC only goes up by a little bit, doesn't it? Yeah, it only goes up by 1 at this level. So I'm aiming for... means to cough. I'm aiming for challenge rating 14 here. So that'll be 11,000 experience, 11,500. 7,500, my bad. I have a Discord notification. Is that going to be from Warframe? It's from Warframe. What are they saying? Thank you for tuning in. There's a post-stream something or other. What's this? Oh, okay. There's a lot for me to look into on the Warframe stuff, apparently. Wow. Again, how OP is Protea so far? Massive Legend. Protea can give both itself and its allies damage reduction before even getting damage onto their hit points. And that's damage reduction to all sources of damage. Also, it could set up multiple grenade fans. It can do grenade fan for shrapnel vortex and shield satellite at the same time. And blaze artillery is made of cannons. How does that sound? Curious how handle dispensary? Yeah, I'm curious too. We'll find out as we go. We'll find out. Hit points on this one should be in the order of 210. So let's go with that. We'll figure out plus or minus how much afterwards. For my standard setup for Warframes, because I've got a stat guide, usually Charisma doesn't increase for the Masters, and Protea I'm keeping on that level. Instead, we want to give plus stats in other places. So, do +1 across the board? Yeah, why not? +1 across the board. Keeps the identity, keeps the balance. There we go. So that is leveled up there. Saving throws. We've got dexterity. Let's add on intelligence. I think that is very thematic. Also didn't increase proficiency. That is supposed to be a 5. Dex has therefore gone up to a +10. Very good dex save. Acrobatics is a 10. Arcana is a 10. History is a 10. And what other skill do we give this Protea Master? What other skill? Acrobatics, Arcana, History. Do we give Protea another skill? Or go Mastery in one of these 3? Engineering and Crafting, those are skills in 5e, unfortunately. 5e is very much a combat sim, with stuff happening at other times around it. 5e is 90% a combat sim. If you want me to rant about the social pillar, well, I've got a rant ready to go on that one, but I think you all have heard it before now. Perception makes sense, she's always looking for targets. Everyone's looking for targets, Jason. How is that about Protea specifically? I mean, I can go perception, but does it fit? Is it really Protea? Because otherwise, I don't want to be min-maxy in the pick of stuff? You tried? You want it to be perception because you like Protea. Is this what it is, Jason? You want it to be perception because this is your darling. This is your Mary Sue. Am I right there, Jason? Enforcer's suggesting medicine. Ready for athletics. Okay. Jason? Because you've been such a help throughout all these bits and pieces, not just on Protea, but in general, I'm going to give your beloved perception. You can have it. That's for you. Supposed to be a bodyguard for Parvos as another point for perception. Perhaps insight. You know what? That's valid. That's valid. Yep. We'll take it. Alright then. Perception it is. And you know what? With Curb's great idea as well there. We'll put insight on the prime. Job done. Alright then. Bullet jumping. Bullet jump has become a 10-foot vertical and a 28 horizontal. What's the whole visor thing? Oh yeah. I don't pay much attention to aesthetics. You prefer sleight of hand? Sleight of hand? I know that Protea's throwing out Pokeballs of grenades and stuff, but Protea never struck me as much of a thief. Much more bodyguard. Sleight of hand doesn't match bodyguard. Cosmic Birds just tuned in. This seems incredible. Thanks. Welcome on in. Howdy, just come out the dev stream. Some interesting things coming up. How goes the D&D-ification? It goes well. How goes the dev stream? I haven't checked any of the details. I will find out after this stream what D decided to unleash on us whilst I was not paying attention. Right, let's make sure all the stats are going in the right places. That's updated, that's updated. This needs updating. That's now a DC 18. This is now going to be a plus 10 to hit. Oh, I didn't actually give the X. Ah, right. Oh yeah, because I never figured out how much we want X to be. Well, it'll be balanced at firing 6 times. Let's give it 6. And then the later ones can go longer. There we are, that's fine. Okay, back to this. Back to the master. That I realised I've fixed the adept. Cosmic says, sleight of hand can be used for crafting and precise throwing, not just pickpocketing. See, no, that's dexterity. That is definitely dexterity you were talking about there, Cosmic. Sleight of hand is something else. Are there any abilities that have something to do with gadgets or setting traps that might fit? In skills? No. Yeah, I see. I've gone for the 2 for 3, because then 6 shots, whether it hits 3 people on 2 turns or 2 people on 3 turns, it balances out. More than that goes too much further, because it will keep on damaging. Yeah, because if we have all 4 players in the area, or if there's a party of more than 4, we're going to get those shots out quicker. Yeah. Is sleight of hand not dexterity? No. Sleight of hand is a skill, dexterity is an ability stat. In your experience, DM usually calls for a skill check, not a check plus stat. No, every skill check is a check plus. Is a plus stat and adding proficiency if it is relevant to it. Now I need to know, Cosmic, how much you know about this game. To be able to know if I'm addressing you as a DM, or you as a player, or you as someone cursory to Dungeons & Dragons. Have you DM'd for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition following the information in the Player's Handbook and Dungeon Master's Guide? And I'll be very specific on that last bit because some people have DM'd without ever reading them. So have you DM'd on the basis of the contents of those books? Because if not, that'll be the point you're missing. As DMs will typically just say, roll me sleight of hand, as shorthand for roll me dexterity, you can add your proficiency if you're proficient in sleight of hand. Play regularly, DM an ongoing campaign, and own a DMG. I love how you specify own a DMG, as if you've not read it, you just bought it and put it on the shelf. Can't pretend to have read it cover to cover, but familiar with the rules. Okay. So yeah, there are no, what do you call it, sleight of hand checks in 5th edition. They don't exist. There are ability checks, attack rolls, saving throws. Ability checks use your strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, or charisma. You may add proficiency if the DM adjudicates that a proficiency you have would be relevant, or something else in your character's background, history, or details would grant you proficiency to the check. And that is what the proficiency bonus represents. You never roll a skill as a skill check. It's an ability check, which may add proficiency due to the skill. And I know that might sound like I'm splitting hairs, but that's literally how it all comes together, and is why sleight of hand is not dexterity. Sleight of hand is a skill, and you roll dexterity. Very different features when it comes to the mechanics here. And this is a mechanical stream, so I'm allowed to split the hairs. Also, rule 1, DM is always right, and I am DM here. Digital master. I'm ready to say I own an iron doesn't mean all my shirts are smooth. Good way of putting it. Good way of putting it. I like it. Dragonite says, DM, I'd allow someone to use Slayer Hand for verifying dexterity checks like working on small gadgets using variant rule. Sure. Alright then. Not invalid take. It's still not dexterity. Also, really say, part of the reason my group uses Pathfinder, to be honest, it's a lot more complicated and hard to get into, but you can really focus character on skills with that. Yeah, honestly, I've not played Pathfinder 2e, but, or 1e for that matter. But I do have the 2e core book, whatever it's called, and the rule set I've seen in it does look a little bit more fine-grained and applicable than 5e. 5e is very much more... And that infuriates me. Do I have time for a rant? It's only 8:30. I have time for a rant. Well, allow me to get the book. Allow me to get the book. What have we done? We talked about the mechanics long enough for me to get to rant here. This happens quite frequently on these D&D streams. It happens quite frequently, because if I can't vent about it, I don't know, I explode. On page 245 of the Dungeon Master's Guide for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, we come to the section which is... Actually, it starts on 244, resolving interactions. Basically, this is all about social interaction. This whole spread, this amazing spread of almost 2 whole pages, is the entire social pillar. All of it. It is the entire social pillar. Let me walk you through this. So, during a social interaction, the adventurers usually have a goal. No shit. They want to extract information, secure aid with someone's trust, escape punishment, avoid combat, negotiate a treaty, or achieve whatever other objective led to the interaction in the first place. The creatures they interact with also have agendas. Some DMs prefer to run a social interaction as a free-form role-playing exercise, where dice rarely come into play. By starting the section, or that paragraph with that's saying some people prefer to just not look at the books at all. Cool, let's get to the bit where the book helps us, please. Other DMs prefer to resolve the outcome of an interaction by having characters make charisma checks. Either approach works, and most games fall somewhere in between, balancing player skill with character skill. So here's how it suggests. Number 1, starting attitude. Choose the starting attitude of the creature the adventurers are interacting with. Friendly, indifferent, or hostile. And it just then spends the rest of that section describing what friendly, indifferent, and hostile means. For example, a hostile creature opposes the adventurers and their goals, but doesn't necessarily attack them on sight. For example, a condescending noble. Okay. Next then, it says, Section 2, Conversation. Play out the conversation. Let the adventurers make their points, trying to frame their statements in terms that are meaningful to the creature they are interacting with. It notes that there is changing attitudes. The attitude of a creature might change over the course of a conversation. I'm just going to glance through and see if it says anything about why, when, or how mechanically. Nope, it's all may or mights or coulds. Whether the adventurers can shift a creature's attitude is up to you. Typically, a creature's attitude can't shift more than one step during a single interaction. Yeah, that's what it says on that. It says, oh, attitudes can change. You decide when. You handle it. Then we get to determining characteristics. The adventurers don't necessarily enter into a social interaction with a full understanding of a creature's ideal bond or flaw. Blah, 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 blah. Basically, characters, NPCs, were going to have traits. So how do the players discover this, you might wonder? After interacting with a creature long enough to get a sense of its personality traits and characteristics through conversation, an adventurer can attempt a wisdom insight check to uncover one of the creature's characteristics. I'm going to stop us right there, very importantly. Just take note of that wording. After interacting with a creature long enough. That's it. You decide. How long's long enough? Long enough. That's what the book says. Long enough. But the next sentence... Oh, the next sentence, this kills me. The next sentence kills me. Having said, after interacting long enough, they can make an insight check. Next sentence is, you set the DC. That's what it says. Full stop. You set the DC. A check that fails by 10 or more might misidentify a characteristic, so you should provide a false characteristic or invert one of the creature's existing characteristics. For example, and it gives some nice flowery explanation as to how someone can get something wrong. And that's the section on determining characteristics. After long enough, get them roll a check. You choose the number. That's determining characteristics. But we're not done. Bearing in mind, this is still the entire social interaction page, all of it for 5th edition. 3. Stage 3 of a conversation, charisma check. That's the title of this section, charisma check. When the adventurers get to the point of their request, demand or suggestion, or if you decide the conversation has run its course, call for a charisma check. Any character who has actively participated in the conversation can make the check. Depending on how the adventurers handled the conversation, the persuasion, deception, or intimidation skill might apply to the check. The creature's current attitude determines the DC required to achieve a specific reaction, as shown in the conversation reaction table. Said table is 9 rows. 3 for friendlies, 3 for indifferents, and 3 for hostiles. Other characters who contributed to the conversation can cause the character who is rolling to have advantage. Certain situations might call for more than one check, particularly if the adventurers come into the interaction with multiple goals. And that's it. Well, sorry, no, there is also section 4, repeat, ? Which basically says, once it's done, that's basically it, and continuing might upset the creature they're interacting with. Use your best judgment. After that, it goes on to role-playing about how you can be the NPC and use your voice, using your face and arms, kind of like I do, how I role-play me. And after that point, it actually just gives up on social. The stuff before it is nothing to do with social either. The stuff before it is tracking things through snow and visibility outdoors. So I'm not missing anything. That is the section. That is the section in 5th edition on how you handle the entire social interaction pillar of the game. You decide if the creature is friendly, indifferent, or hostile. You determine what the goals are of the creature and the players. They have a conversation, and then you roll a check. If more than one player is involved in the conversation, the check has an advantage. And that's it. You roll more dice to figure out your hit points. Just saying. Not how many hit points you lose. You roll more dice to figure out your hit points. Because you roll to determine your constitution. If you're using the default way of rolling into your stats. And then you roll on leveling up. Again, if you use the default way. You roll more dice to determine your hit points. And heaven help you if someone other than the charisma player wants to roll for the conversation they're in. Because that's just objectively worse. Heaven help you if 3 people contribute to the conversation. Doesn't matter. According to the book, doesn't matter. And if you want to know what DC it is to figure out who someone is, what's their ideals, bonds, flaws, you decide. It's embarrassing. It genuinely is embarrassing that someone actually put together all of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, said it's got 3 pillars: exploration, combat, and social encounters. There is the combat pillar, this lovely ornate marble pillar with some cracks where stealth happens. You have the exploration pillar, which is this crumbling ruin, mostly actually remade by others. And then social doesn't exist. Does 5e even have XP rules for social situations? It hasn't got anything written in Dragonite. But then it also doesn't have XP written for anything other than the XP value of creatures when they die. Or are defeated, technically. Defeated. So yeah, it's not even 2 pillars and a stick chalk. It's 1 grand pillar, 1 ancient remnant, which is mostly just being renovated by others. It's a historical artifact. And then there is a plinth. A floor tile, yeah, Cosmo. There is a space where a pillar should be, and instead, you are told to stand there. There is this cardboard cutout of a pillar with a hole in it you put your face through, and that's where your mum takes the photo. Oh, look at you, honey, you're the pillar. Because you are, it's you. That's the entire pillar. This is why you prefer milestone levels for 5e. I use XP. But I use XP the same way I did in 4th edition when I DM'd that as well. And the way I use XP is that I will assign XP based on the difficulty of the encounter they were dealing with. The projected difficulty when I created the adventure for them to step into in the session. And that XP can be from killing things. That XP can be from just navigating around them. That XP can be from convincing whoever to do something quest important, for reaching the end of a quest or objective, completing that. XP is just awarded for, hey, you did the thing. You overcame the challenges. You defeated the hurdles in your way. You achieved your goal. If the players achieve a goal, XP. Job done. No ifs, no buts. XP for job done. I also completely ignore the bit in the book where it says, oh, well, you know, when creating encounters with multiple creatures in the enemy side, you adjust the XP total to account for how difficult it is, but you don't award them the adjusted XP. You only award them the base XP. No, fuck that. If the encounter is X difficult, it gets X XP. Job done. Oh, I have a lot of strong opinions on this game. I have a lot of strong opinions on this game. It is very easy to play. No, sorry. It is reasonably easy to play. No. Compared to some systems, it is pretty easy to play 5th edition. But the longer you look at it, the more things you try to do with Dungeons & Dragons, the more you realise it is a combat sim. It started as a combat sim back in the original Dungeons & Dragons, and it has remained a combat sim. And 5th edition is a streamlined, simplified, blunted combat sim. That's my take. It is reasonably easy as a player. Sure. Do you know if you can be stealthy in a certain circumstance? What's your chance of success? Not the number, just are your chances good? Bad? Somewhere in the middle? Do you know? Do you have an intuitive idea as to what chances you have? If you were to bring along your friends, do you know, should they be rolling as well? Should you be rolling with disadvantage for them anti-helping you? The DM has to decide? Exactly! And it's only easy for the player if the DM allows it to be easy. If the DM doesn't have rules to play with from the book, then the players don't have rules to play with, and really all you've just got at that point is group storytelling with occasionally one dude assigned to be the person that says a number. You don't need a rulebook for that, you just need a few beers. I say as someone who doesn't drink beer, but whatever. When I buy a game, I prefer the game to come with the rules for the game. And even as a player, too much of D&D 5e, in my opinion, leaves you going, okay, so what's the DM going to allow? Can I do this? I don't know. I played in a game where I had a character with very high intelligence, I had high stats, proficiency in Arcana, in history, and in religion. This was a character meant to know things. I specifically did that having been a DM for so long myself, that I just know a lot of facts about the game. And so, having a very intelligent and educated character, they were supposed to know a lot of things as well, to kind of help mitigate any metagame that might happen. And I would actively ask the DM, what's my character know about this? Is this something they understand? No, you don't. No rolls, no anything. Not once did that DM let me roll to know if my character knew anything about whatever was going on. The analogy that comes to mind is if Warframe told you and you make the mods. Yeah, perhaps. But yeah. Kirby MB saying, I think it was Shadow Call's original point, but it puts all the expectation on the DM to finish the game for the players. I suppose, yeah, if you've got a good enough DM that gives the players not only the finished game, but then sets their expectations, sure. I would compare to other games where the players can know the rules up front. They know, well, if we're following the rules of the game, this is what I can do. These are the buttons I can press. In Warframe, you press control, you look in a direction, you press space, you bullet jump in that direction. That is a button you can press. In D&D 5e, it is your turn. You can use an action to attack with a melee weapon. You roll your strength, or your dexterity if it's finesse, for that attack. But for other features, you ask the DM for permission. Please, sir, please, I would like to do the thing. Can we use my feature this time, please? Please subscribe. Oh look, Greymire already did. Greymire, thank you very much for subscribing. They're on to 6 months now, half a year of having you in the community. Greymire, cheers indeed. Oh. I appreciate you. Thank you very much on resubscribing there. That's it. My rant hasn't put you off. Dragonite saying my group's forever DM has been freed and gets revenge by asking for every NPC's name. Oof. Oof. I feel that pain. I do feel that pain. Right, okay, I've ranted long enough. That was a good, that was a good 15-20 minute rant. I think that's enough on that one. Let's continue on with Protea, shall we? Is there a link to this homebrew? To this, not as yet, no. I intend to finish the document up, get it at least into a finished alpha state, and then see exactly how I want to go ahead with the further publishing on that. And for that, to be quite honest, I'm probably going to need to go back to D and confirm a few details about it. As much as I have the recognitions in here, once I have it all finalized, I'm going to want to put it in front of them to make sure that everything is on the level first, because I'm using a lot of their IP here. I am intentionally avoiding using Dungeons & Dragons IP, at least anything that they can actually challenge. Nothing in here is challengeable by Wizards of the Coast. Untouchable in that regard, so that is good. Right. Dispensary. This is a spell. It's going to be a 1-action spell. Lasts for 1 minute, because that's how the dispensary kind of sets up and runs. 1 action, 1 bonus action. Make it nice and quick to do. Then it's not competing too much with the action economy we've got going on here. It's saying very quickly, had a thought for dispensary, roll a d3 each turn, sort of like deck of cards, releases void energies that heal, restore spells, ammo to whomever picks it up. Any creatures can pick them up. So all of this stuff that I create for Warframes is very much effects friendlies positively and enemies negatively, and no crossover. So not any creature can pick them up, no. That would break that, and could potentially break the designs. Dispensing ammo doesn't really help a matter in this game. Agreed. There's no mana, so it leaves health. Nope, there is a mana of sorts. There is a mana. There is a mana. So, dispensary. Spell, 1 bonus action, 1 minute. Protea conjures a hovering device in an adjacent empty space, taking the form of a blooming flower head. Just to give it a little bit of deet. I'm going with flower head. Just keep it nice and simple. Jason, this might just break everything you've done, but what if mana drops refresh spell slots? Jason, break everything I've done? Let me just scroll up to Octavia. You guys didn't get to see this. Inspiring recovery. When Octavia casts a spell, it may roll a d20 and add its charisma modifier to the result. Octavia or one of its allies within 60 feet may recover 1 void power or spell slot with level no more than the result minus 15, and no higher level than the spell Octavia cast. Oh, yes, I have covered that already. That's how Octavia does the passive of regenerating energy. Roll the dice, see if you manage to get a spell slot back. Maybe pass it to an ally. And, yeah, considering that Ampere goes all the way up to 7th level, Octavia is capped on how high thing it can give, but it can give quite heavily there. So Protea can do similar. Energy orbs can pop out of dispensary in a similar fashion, and Protea can do similar shenanigans with it. So, on cast, and at the start of each... No. On cast, and as a bonus action on each of Protea's turns, it may energize the dispensary to support Protea or a nearby ally. Protea chooses one of the following options each turn. So we can go for the health one, we can go for the energy one, straight up. Counterbalance for players is whether they can claim as their own to reap rewards or destroy it. So the counterbalance is going to be to prevent Protea from using those bonus actions. That's the bit I'm going for here. So the way that it pops out, a little bit every now and then. Rather than have it be entirely automatic, Protea needs to put a bonus action into it. And to do that, Protea needs to be able to use said bonus action. So if they stop Protea from taking those actions, Dispensary is disabled. That's the idea there. And there are plenty of ways and means to do that. I might make it where there is a range Protea needs to be within the Dispensary to affect it. So that someone could yank Protea away from the Dispensary and that's it, it's functionally useless. But asking, I forget, but are you keeping the technological aspects of Warframes, or are you converting it into a more high fantasy setting? So maybe change the description Dispensary from device into Wellspring or Plane Rift, something along those lines. I'm doing all of them, Umbrella. I'm doing technological, high fantasy, both. For Protea, keeping the more techie side, because that's more aligning with kind of Artificer style stuff. Giving Protea a very different theme compared to others, say like the Mesa setup, which is very much Hellfire incarnate, using necrotic and fire damage. For the ammo equivalent, it could give a temporary attack or damage bonus to an ally. Could cause someone to make a quick attack. So, Protea spends its bonus action, and an ally within range of the Dispensary gets to make an attack without using its reaction. That could do it. That could be the ammo one. To be honest, Umbrella, I forget about Artificers a lot as well. Instead of ammo, maybe you can also shoot out traps like Caltrops, ball bearings, and or bear trap. No, the traps side of things, or damaging areas, that's very much in the aspect of grenade, fan, and blaze artillery. I'm trying to keep Dispensary more in line with what it does. So giving the extra attack kind of fits the ammo, but going into a whole ass different trap, that's not Dispensary. It's meant to be a support thing. I also assume we won't have it revive fallen companions of Warframes. Oh, you mean the Dispensary augment? Oh, hell no, Ray. No. I'm not bringing in the augment at all. That's very gamey, that one. If anything, it feels like that augment itself is more gamey than the usual gamey augments, because it was the metagame of, oh, well, sorry your sentinels are dying, we don't want to make them invulnerable just yet, so here's an augment to bring it back with an ability you can get through the helmet system. Okay, thanks. As far as augments go, that one was very metagame. So, yeah, definitely not bringing that one here. So let's get some ranges on this. Let's give some counterplay through ranges. Uncast, and as a bonus action on each of Protea's turns, while within 10 feet of the Dispensary, it may energize the Dispensary to support Protea or an ally within 10 feet. Let's give those limits there. So Protea or ally must be within 10 feet. Protea and ally must be within 10 feet of Dispensary to get the Dispensary benefits. Yeah. Ammo dispense instantly reloads the crossbow for an additional shot. So that's kind of what I'm going with Dragon Knight, with the idea of the additional attack. Protea can get herself or an ally to make instant attack as a bonus action, yeah. I kept on saying, technically it can revive allies. Protea uses a heal Dispensary of someone who's making death saves. Sure, why not? If someone dies next to Dispensary, pick it up. Give players more reasons to go, shit, we need to get it away from that Dispensary. Yeah, we'll let that happen. Given that I've given it a small range, and this is challenge 14, yeah, that's fine. Let's do this. So, let's go for Vitality. Wait, no. I know where I got the word Vitality from. That's from the moats. That's going to be a Wisp thing. Let's not do that. What do we name Health without going Health? I want to do better than Health. Life? No, too basic. Are these playable homebrew? I mean, I'll be a pretty bad creator of them if they're not playable, but I presume you actually mean, will you have access to them? Not until I've completed the entire document, no. Vitality? No, that's the name of the Wisp mode, Vitality mode. So I want to leave that to Wisp. Is the dispensary going to be breakable? Nope. You can counterspell it. You can dispel spell. Otherwise, players have to play around it. Much like other spells, really. Once it's up, it's up. Deal with it. Vigor? Vigor! I like that. Vigor's a nice word. Alright then. So, let's put that in italics. Vigor. Protea. Sorry. The target creature regains. Let's see. Jumping from challenge 40, from challenge 9 to 14, we increase the expected damage per round by 25. Let's go for 25 healing. Let's scale that down a bit because we could get moments of inspiration doubling it up. So let's go with... If I go with 22, which is 40-10, yeah. Target creature regains 22, i.e. 40-10 health. So the reason for making it roll there is so it matches in with moments of inspiration, which can double the amount that you roll for healing. Fortification orbs? Vigor, 45. I'll go with Vigor. I prefer Vigor. Alright then, next bullet points. This is for the energy or spells. Let's go for something more arcane, something magical. So I don't want just recovery. Generate, no, too broad. Energize? I used Energize on the dispensary, but I have to change to Energize to activate. Then I can put Energize here. That works. Alright then, so the target creature regains health, so let's go with target creature recovers a spell slot or void power of up to 3rd level. I'm going to stick it at 3rd level because this can be used... Oh, I need a line break. Because this can be used each turn. At challenge 14, recovering a 3rd level slot isn't too crazy. Recovering 10 of them is quite a bit, but you know, it's fine. Actually, should I limit this such that each creature can only recover energy once from dispensary? Yeah, let's go with that. Wait, yeah. Can only benefit from this option once per cast of dispensary. Just to balance that down a bit, because otherwise that could get excessive. Maybe roll for it. That way it's not always 3rd level. I would say up to 3rd level. So it could be 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, but not 4th and above. Although Blaze Artillery is at 4th. No, we'll go with 3rd level. And then on the next level, on the Prime, we can make it 4th, which will allow Blaze Artillery to be recovered this way too. Can make the spell slot temporary, like they only use it for 1 or 2 turns before it goes away. I feel like that would be a little bit too much busy work, I'll be quite honest. Tracking, oh, am I still allowed to use that spell slot or not? Especially as this will all be on the DM to track, because it's a monster. But I say, yeah, but if you have the option for a high-level spell, why would you take a level outside niche situations? Because you want to take... if it's a spell slot going to a creature will take the spell slot. For Warframes, they use... I've basically recreated Vancian casting for them. So if they want a specific spell, they need to recover that one. A 3rd level spell may be more important to them than a 4th level spell at any given point in time. Can't you recast it to refill slots continuously? she can only cast this once per short rest, and with that, all Warframes recover all spells on a short rest anyway. This is why they don't have really long spell lists. They're closer to Warlocks. They cast off intelligence. They get their powers from some strange void entity thing. It's indecipherable and undescribed. And they have a limited number of spells, but recover it all on a short rest. They're basically Warlocks. Plus plus. Without the cantrip in most cases. So no, she can't constantly recover. She won't be able to recover the dispensary with a dispensary either. Because the dispensary will be just too high level. Canonically, we're basically Warlocks anyway. Yeah, so it fits. You missed that? That's okay. I'm not sure which bit exactly you missed there, but it's definitely okay anyway. Right, so we got Vigor, we got Energized. I'm going to put the... Oops, that should be a small dot. I'm going to put the damage one here then, so Energizes longer wordiness is on the end. So for the other one, I don't want to call it Haste, let's call it Surge. Why not Surge? Alright, Chalk, you take care, and thanks for the extra hydrate. Cheers. Catch you around. A target creature makes a weapon attack. Makes a ranged or a melee weapon attack. Against a target of its choice. Yeah, that keeps it simple. So, rereading all this, Protea conjures a hovering device in an adjacent empty space, taking the form of a blooming flower head. On cast, and as a bonus action on each of Protea's turns, while within 10 feet of the dispensary, it may activate the dispensary to support Protea or an ally within 10 feet. That seems really wordy. On cast, and as... Well, firstly, or. On cast, or as a bonus action on each of Protea's turns. I'm going to take that into a new sentence. So on cast or as a bonus action on each of Protea's turns, while within 10 feet of the dispensary, it may activate. Protea may activate it. Protea chooses one of the following options each turn, targeting itself or an ally within 10 feet of the dispensary. That just feels a little bit less clunky. I'm probably saying Surge is both thematically and in name similar to Fighter's Action Surge. I didn't even realise that when I put that word in. Okay. That works. We'll take it. There we are. I actually didn't intend that. So yeah, there we are then. Okay, cool. On cast or as a bonus action on each of Protea's turns, while within 10 feet of dispensary, Protea may activate it. Protea chooses one of the following options each turn, target itself or an ally... not each turn, each time. Each time, target itself or an ally within 10 feet of the dispensary. Vigor, the target creature regains 22 health. Surge, the target creature makes a ranged or melee weapon attack against a target of its choice. Specify weapon so that spells aren't activated, it's ammo. I know you don't ammo a sword, but shh. Energize, the creature recovers a spell slot or void power of up to 3rd level. A creature can only benefit from this option once per cast of dispensary. If there's multiple creatures, multiple benefits. But if there's not multiple creatures, not multiple benefits. Which, if anything, should indicate to DMs, hey you there, put more things with Protea. Don't do solo creatures. Just saying. I think that should work. So we can stick with 1 per short rest on the grenade fan, blaze artillery, and the... Now this is a high-powered thing. This is a lot of healing, this is a lot of power this can do, and it's not concentration, it's a bonus action. I'm making this 7th level. That strikes me as very much a 7th level. Now you might be wondering why I'm putting levels on all these things if they're just like class features and whatnot, and that's because a number of different things interact with with spell levels. Not just in the Warframe document, like Octavia here, Inspiring Recovery is dictated by the spell level that can be recovered, but also then what do you call it? What do you call it? Where's the word gone? Come on, Ken. Counterspell. That's the word. For counterspell or for identifying spells, those typically refer to spell level as well. So, can you counter it? Well, if you use a counterspell of 4th level and you're trying to counter Dispensary, maybe not. You now have to roll. Whereas if you're countering Blaze Artillery with a 4th level slot or Grenade Fan, yes, it works straight away. Boom. Apparently, Jason might need to refresh their stream. I think you're a little bit behind the stream now. And we can do a quick test. Jason, send a message in stream and see how quickly I respond to your message. That'll give you an idea as to how long your delay is. I said it just as you did. I read out your message as soon as I saw it. So now you know how long the delay is between your messages and my speaking. And Brady, so with the wording on Energize, it's intentionally once per cast of Dispensary. Could Protea recast Dispensary in order to regain another spell slot every other turn or so? Nope. Because over here, Void Powers... The Protea's Void Power ability is Intelligence, blah 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 blah. Can cost the following powers, that should be plural, and it's 1 per short rest, Dispensary. So it can cast each of its known abilities once per short rest. Almost all the Warframes have this kind of feature. I think all of them actually. Yeah, I think they all have those limits. Some of them will have 2 per short rest on some spells. I think there's even a 3 per short rest out there. There's a couple at wills for leveled spells. But mostly, it's 1 per short rest. A green text hard to read on mobile? Yeah. The good news is, it's also on the side here, in even smaller black text. I realised that on mobile, even on PC, it's going to be hard to kind of catch all of the details here, which is why I'm trying to read them out as much as possible as I make them. But it's all good. It's all good. Right, damage check. First of all, I think these multi-attacks... Yeah, these basics need to be upgraded. That's a plus 10 to hit. This is going to be 10 damage. Plus 5 here. This needs to be a plus 10 to hit. This is now 8 damage. 1d6 plus 5. So we get 20 damage out of that on a turn, which is pretty damn pathetic for this level. Very pathetic. But then we have got all kinds of other things happening. So let's try min-maxing this now. Ooh, that is not a good perception check there, Umbrella. Unfortunate. Unfortunate. Yeah, don't try too hard to read what's being written here. I'm not going to be able to make this any bigger because I need the size of my screen. But yeah. How many times are you going to shoot the cannons at this level? It's still listed as X. Ah, good point. Yeah, I need to upgrade that to 6 or more. You know what? I'm going to stick with 6. Let's see what it looks like with 6 for the start here. So, Protea Master might go, first of all, Blaze Artillery. Blaze Artillery goes out. Pew, 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 pew. Blaze Artillery is going to deal, and we're going to assume we're getting Moment of Inspiration on this. Let's roll with Moments of Inspiration. Blaze Artillery goes out. We get 7 on 2 creatures. So that is 14, 28 damage. Next turn, out comes the Grenade Fan. Because obviously Grenade Fan is going to be the next port of call on this. That's going to be dealing... Let's see here. Yes, that's going to be dealing 9 to 3 creatures for 27. And Blaze Artillery is also going to retreat again, this time for 32. Next turn, assuming everything steps outside the Grenade Fan, we've still got the Blaze Artillery, that'll be 36. And we got the multi-attack with the crossbow for 2 lots of 10 for 20. There's 143 damage. We're looking for more like 210. So the dispensary at healing for 22 doesn't quite cut that. Okay, I've got a few different dials I can tweak here, levers I can pull. Or I could just have my screen explode. Hello. Alright. That also works. Just Lavos striding onto the screen as he does. Athlia with the 31 gifted subs there. Whoa! Have the AC of my beloved paladin in sub form. That's one hell of an AC right there, Athlia. That is one hell of an AC. Gifted subs out to Datanasi, to Enaheim, to Cyberdemon, to Emerald Taku, to Popzali, to Gallivanting Ignoble, to Asnight, to Darth Washbear, to Nate the Mate One, to Dr. Lucas, to King Skrilla, to Noble Warrior, to Vortex Assassin, to Wolfram, to Smuggler, to Free Trees. To Sir Kelton, to Merlin the Ageless, to Lost Soul Revenge, to Not the Saint, to Yucca, to TX Layer, or Texas Layer, to Liquid Viking, to Merrick44, to Max and Madge, to Reminator, to Joe Dark, to Iceman, to Rickmus, to Livebler, and to Kronos the Planet Eater. Athlia, thank you very, very much for that huge drop of gifted subs right there. That was a good reason to have Lavos walk onto screen. Athlia, cheers. I really do appreciate that. And I love it when we have Lavos walk on screen like that. I love it. 31 subs on a stream that has 41 viewers. Turn off the entire viewership. Yep, and you can guarantee more than 10 people here manage to dodge a sub, because that's how Twitch works, apparently. I don't understand Twitch's algorithm for handing out subs. It's weird to me, to be quite honest. But anyway, Athelia, thank you very, very much for those gifts there. It is massively appreciated. And I hope you're having yourself a grand old time. How's the milk holding up? You haven't cursed it to death yet, have you? Have you? Ah. Right, so, Prody. I'm going to tweak with the spells here. Mocha's only had T in it so far. That is surprisingly mundane. That is surprisingly mundane there. Alright then. Hey! Curb EMB, thank you very much for subscribing with your Prime as well. Welcome to the channel proper. Glad it missed me so I could do this. There we are. It was meant to be, wasn't it, Curb? It was meant to be. Thank you very much for dropping that over here. Enjoy your lovely blue sub badge, your emotes, your access to the Supporter Tea Lounge, that's a premium channel over on my Discord, and no more ads here for you. And just in case you're unaware about how the Supporter Tea Lounge works, this stream, this literal stream right now, was voted for by people who are in that Supporter Tea Lounge. So yourself and all the 31 people who just got themselves a sub there, you have the ability to vote on upcoming streams. In fact, if I just bring this up real quickly, Rinos, here it is. Here's the poll that won this time. That's how it works. And I'll be posting up the poll for next week into the Variety Friday poll channel, the specific channel for it, just underneath the Supporter Tea Lounge, for next week's one. All the votes carry over week to week except for the winning game. So we've got here, say like Slay the Spire, it had previously 14.18 votes. 4 people, because we don't count my one, 4 people have voted for it there, but some of those votes are people who've also voted for other items, which is why you get decimals. That'll carry over to next week. Same for all of them. And you can see at Minecraft carried over 0 votes, because we played it last week. So that is very pertinent to today's stream, and that you've just unlocked access to there, Curb. If you want more D&D, you can vote for more D&D. If you don't want it, well, you can vote for something else then. All the votes count, literally. I manually do it. Anyway, back to Protea. Grenade Fan, I'm going to take it up to 4th level here. And Blaze Artillery up to 5th level. I'm going to make it where Dispensary recovers up to a 4th level slot. So it still covers the Grenade Fan. Because the Grenade Fan is going up to a higher range. Also, I upped the number, but I didn't up the level previously. So let's actually bring that down for consistency. Yeah. So this one, let's take the range. Let's actually take it all the way up to 75 feet. For this level, let's really push it out there for the range these can be thrown. And let's buff up the values on this to 3d8. So I'll add another 4 onto this, make it 13. 3d8. 13 for 3d8. And the Blaze Artillery, we'll give that 10 for 3d6. Like so. Plus 1 additional damage for each round this spell has been active. Let's leave that at 1. Let's leave that at 1. Yeah, Brady, we'll have to get there in a moment. Doesn't temporarily grant damage boost when you going back to it. I'll double check the details on that before I translate it. We'll get to that one in just a moment. We'll get to that one. Jason say, well, dispensary doesn't add anything offensive. To get more damage here, maybe increase damage die of the cannons. Oh, right. Well, I was already on that line of thinking. Already on the tweaking. So, having tweaked those up, that gives it that more power output. Which means then Protea can get around to dispensary for that later sustain. I think that should work out. This, by the way, is 18 and plus 10 to hit. Did this previously say the wrong numbers? It did. Plus 5 should be plus 8 to hit. There we go. I think that's all correct now. Yeah. Cool. So that should give us a proper Protea Master. Broadly in these spells. That should balance out. It should balance. Umbrella, no. Umbrella, no. Bonk. Bad Umbrella. Bad. I'd forgotten about that for a moment. I'd cast it from my mind for future Ken to have to worry about. Don't bring that to me now. No. Alright then, so. Multi-attack we can leave in place. Do I give it 3 attacks? Three hits for 30. That's not going to be unbalanced. I'm going to give it 3 attacks. There's no way that can be unbalanced. I'll give it 3. Protea can have that a little bit more fun. Alright then. The only thing I think I need to do is the hit points. Let's double check those. So it's now a +2. So that's 210. Divided by 6.5 is about 32-ish. Let's go for 32. It's 208. Boom. That's how we do that. It's an interesting system of handling hit dice and hit points for monsters in 5th edition. You do the D based on the size of the creature, so it's or the class of the creature, so it's a D8 in all Warframe cases. And then you just give them as many D8s as they need with their Constitution modifier to get to their hit points that you intend to give them. It's very odd. It's very odd. Okay, so she can afford to make more attacks because dispensary is keeping her ammo stocked up. Yes. That is definitely the correct headcanon to have here. Protea Master can fire repeating crossbow more often because it has access to dispensary. I can't argue with that logic. Yep. Alright then. It's grand. Right. Let's grab all this. That should be all up to date and correct now. If it's not correct, someone please let me know. And we do the final section, the Prime. We've got plenty of text space to work with, so that is good. On some frames it has been a little bit squeaky. I've had to delete some details as a result. Let's see here. So, the Prime, I'm going to go for challenge rating 19, which typically have an AC of 19, so that is a good starting point. Skidoosh, and hit points typically for that level would be around 285. So, let's start 285. The speed I'm going to bump up to 40 feet. In terms of stats, so Prime will get +1 across the board. Why do I have a Discord notification? It's Warframe again, they can do what they do. +1 across the board, so 16, 22, 16, 23, 18, And 10 for a flat 0 there. There we go. Beautiful. Saving throws is going to increase. We've got dexterity, we've got intelligence. What do we go for? We're getting control of time. Being bounced in and out of time is kind of like messing with the planes. So I'm going to go charisma. Yeah, I'll go charisma. So it's challenge 19, 22,000 XP, because that's just what you get it for dealing with those. Proficiency is 6. Dex save is now a 12. Int save is now 12. Acrobatics is a 12. Arcana is a 12. History is a 12. And Perception is a 10. And then we're adding in Insight, which is going to go here alphabetically. Insight is a 10. There we are, that's basic stats handled. Bullet jump. Because I say, are you planning to make Temporal Anchor like it is in game? You're going to give more control over time like she does in lore. I will cross that bridge in a moment, Cosmo. Let me do the details here. We'll have a look as to what's in the game and what we can take from there. I would prefer to sit closer to the game rather than the lore, but that's because the lore of time travel is just stupid in almost every instance. Time travel broadly offends me, I'll be quite honest. So, we'll see. This should be 18 feet vertical, and horizontal 16, 22, 48. Which does mean she would have to dash to get the full horizontal jump, because she's only got 40 foot standard movement speed. Jedi Ezio says, hey Ken, love your YouTube videos on Warframe. Just wanted to stop by and say hi and thank you. You are very welcome, and thank you very much for dropping by to say that here. If you happen to stick around, enjoy the rest of the stream, or otherwise, probably catch you Sunday for the Warframe stream. But thank you, I appreciate that. But yeah, time travel just offends me in most things, because it's almost never done appropriately. It's mostly just used as a narrative tool to give a reason to be somewhere else in time, but the consequences are never considered. The consequences almost never properly considered. And so it just offends me as a mechanic. Yeah. It just... yeah. Right then. Gridfire, we'll come to all that later. Let's update the DCs and attack rolls on this for now. That DC is now a 20. Good luck dealing with that one. This attack roll is a plus 12 to hit. Again, good luck with that one. And was there any other DCs or anything I need to put in here? Is it just those two? Just those two. Alright then, that's easy. And then down here, 20 plus 12. Let's do the weaponry. You are plus 12 to hit. You have a hit of 11. So that's a plus 6. And you likewise are a 12 to hit. You are a hit of 9 because that is a plus 6. Beautiful. Bruce, if I may provoke around, what is your thoughts on the correct way to implement time travel? Step 1, don't. Seriously, don't. If time travel is going to work... well, I'm right. You've done it. If time travel is going to work, you have two options. Because of things like the grandfather paradox, and both in the sense of becoming your own grandpa if you are Fry, or killing your own grandpa and therefore you never existed, causality and all that lot, it all just breaks down. If you're going to have time travel, one of two things has happened. Either you've now proven that everything that has happened will happen, and what will happen already happened. There is no control over it. It's all fixed. It was always going to happen. Or you can change things, in which case you're not actually in your own time stream. You've hopped. Different universe. And believe it or not, even when it comes to saying it's a different universe, freaking media typically still gets it wrong. Marvel films. I know they're not exactly lauded for being masters of any kind of sci-fi or what have you, but they went out of their way. Spoilers if any of you missed this, but whatever, I don't care. They went out of their way with the whole Infinity War saga to say that we're not time traveling per se. We're going to earlier time in a different time stream. We can't just go backwards in time. We're going somewhere else, and we can bring something over from it or what have you. Basically, alternate timelines. But if that's the bloody case, then pray tell how at the end of Endgame did Captain America manage to go back in time to a, remember, different time stream to drop off the stones, but instead of returning to where he was supposed to be, like is just the arranged thing, he manages to then take the long route through normal time to be an old man at the end scene there. He's supposed to be in a different timeline. That was literally the entire point. They're in different timelines. He can't just grow old back to where he started. He's in a different timeline. So even when companies try to address, or writers try to address how time travel works, to explain the minutiae in some way or another, they still get it wrong. They still get it wrong. So, time travel is stupid. And the craziest bit on that, and I'm not going to go into detail on this bit because we do not have 5 hours, but what's it? In terms of time travel, the ironic bit about my issue with it all is that sequestered away in here for when I decide to give it the time of day and many days thereafter to figure it all out. I've got the large part of a structure, core scenes and involved characters of a story or book I'd like to write at some point. A story or book I'd like to write at some point, which does actually have a time travel element to it. Emma Moon, El Congru. I actually liked Steins Gate, but only because I was properly forewarned by a friend of mine who suggested I watch it, that it only gets good after halfway through. Halfway through. I'd need to really stick it out to appreciate all the setup. And he was right, because up until halfway through, I was like, what the hell am I watching? Come on. And then it dropped. I was like, oh. So yeah. They cover the timeline thing with the Avengers and Loki. Look, Wolf Divided. If I have to go watch an entire other series to see how they retcon the fact that they said, oh no, you can't just time travel backwards in time, and then they just act like the guy just did. No. I'm not signing up to an entirely different media's platform to find out how writers decide to retcon their time travel. That's their problem, not mine at that point. They got it wrong in the same film where they declared how it works. That's their problem, not mine. Cosmo, yeah. I don't know when or even if I'll get around to writing that particular story. I've read plenty of sci-fi, and I think I have a unique premise. The only thing I'll say is that it harks onto harder sci-fi in terms of your older school sci-fi. Take a single bit of tech, just one change, one technological advancement in society, put that into society and see what happens. Make the story still about the people, life, living it with that adjustment. And I don't have to remember the exact quote, because I just remembered I have the book with the quote in it right here. This is very convenient. I know I'm really off topic now, but we're doing this. This is why I said it took like 5 hours, so I'm going to be careful. Because what I have here is a now rather tatty, because well-loved book, Arthur C. Clarke, The Collected Stories. I highly recommend it if you like sci-fi. Arthur C. Clarke is an absolute genius. And I do not say that lightly. Clarke is an absolute genius. But in his foreword, he goes on about a variety of different bits and pieces, including, and I love this line very early on, but what is science fiction anyway? Much blood has been spilled on the carpet in attempts to distinguish between science fiction and fantasy. Arthur C. Clarke says himself, I've suggested an operational definition. Science fiction is something that could happen, but usually you wouldn't want it to. Fantasy is something that couldn't happen, though often you only wish that it could. And I like that. I like that approach to it. Sci-fi is could happen, but you probably don't want it to. Fantasy can't happen. Man, imagine if it did. And I like that. It's not a perfect one, but when you want a nice, simple, sounds smart definition to separate between fantasy and science fiction, I like it. Tell that to the people that live in Game of Thrones. There's a surprising number of people who say they would like to live in that universe, so, you know, go figure. Or 40k? Yeah. The definition is clearly very much made to be interesting and not always correct. But then it was Asimov who came up with... was it Asimov? Oh, wait. No, I think it was E. Smith who coined the phrase, no generalization is ever always true, including this one. Star Trek, the most aspirational sci-fi? You mean aspirational fantasy? Star Trek is a fantasy. For me, I draw the line more between internal rules of consistency. Doesn't matter if what you're creating in your story is impossible, truly, utterly impossible. It can be the most outlandishly, utterly, irrevocably impossible thing ever. Just does not fit. It could be Adolf Hitler in a tutu dancing on the moon in 1801. It could be as ridiculous as you want, but if it stays fully internally consistent, it sets and sticks to it solidly, without having to handwave more than just the sheer existence of it. You might be onto sci-fi. You might just be onto sci-fi. Whereas if things just change for the nature of the plot, if you keep on having to tweak and turn the dials, then from one moment a phaser can casually melt down an entire mountain, but the next moment it can barely light a candle, you're probably dealing with fantasy. You are probably dealing with fantasy at that point. Like soft magic versus hard magic? Well, that comes down to a very different quote, but it's on a similar line. Sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. So, really, what's the difference at that point? The difference between soft magic and hard magic is actually the difference between fantasy and sci-fi, basically. If you can study magic to the point of perfectly codifying it, it's just another branch of science. Because otherwise, you're going to have to explain to me how quantum theory is not magic. Brother is saying Star Trek is more soft sci-fi. There are episodes in which are very much hard sci-fi, like the personal rights of the synthetic life forms, artificial intelligence, and sapience. There are episodes which go into personal rights of synthetic life forms and whatnot. Absolutely, I'll give you on that. However, Star Trek as a whole is a fantasy, not a sci-fi, I would argue. It has what appears on the surface to be sci-fi elements, because it doesn't have people running around in robes, wizard hats, and casting spells, normally. But the complete lack of internal consistency, it's all wibbly-wobblies, it's very fantasy. If you want to read sci-fi, if you want to know sci-fi, grab sci-fi books from the authors of sci-fi, the genre, and you'll see what sci-fi really is. Star Trek, perfectly fine as a fantasy. Individual episodes aside, where moments may not require those fantastical elements, they'll be back onto them in a moment. Every time. That's my personal stance on it. People are going to disagree with me because words are words. Words are lies, so that's just how it be. Star Wars is space wizards? I mean, yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. But no one's going to argue on that one. Hell, they're closer to space cultists. They have their religion. They take strong political power with their religion, where they're not actually in the political power, but they totally are. Yeah, it's some amount of space wizardry. I think Mass Effect is very internally consistent, but the nature of the setting still feels fantasy. Yeah, and that's the I'm splitting a hair, which people will split in a different direction. Some people see a wizard hat and they go, "Yep, that's fantasy," and some people see a spaceship and they go, "Yep, that's sci-fi." And I feel like that definition doesn't actually capture the difference between fantasy and sci-fi. If you're gonna have to draw a line, because the story that has people running around in wizard hats and running around in spacesuits could be the exact same story. It's just got the veneer of a different era. Whereas the difference I'm declaring between a sci-fi story and a fantasy story, they will have to be different stories. Despite all appearances. If the story could be the same, if you just change the setting to be wizards and towns in a medieval place, if you take the scale down and put magic in the place of the tech, and it's still the same story, it was probably a fantasy story. Fair, we have spaceships in real life. The existence of spaceship is whatever the opposite of historical non-fiction is. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough, yeah, okay. Anyway. How often do we see space wizards with robes and hoods and still call it sci-fi? Yep, Quintus, yep. 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 I mean, come on, Doctor Who. The Doctor literally has a magic wand. Don't call it sci-fi. It's literally a magic wand. Don't try and tell me otherwise. It's friggin' it's friggin' fantasy, not sci-fi. Anyway, let's make Protea's final ability, shall we? This final ability, which I've forgotten the name of, so I'm just gonna bring it up here. Temporal Anchor, thank you. Temporal Anchor. So how are we gonna build this? I've been hoping inspiration would reach me, but it hasn't. There's a screwdriver. Oh yeah, totes. Totes, yeah. And it's Sonic. Anyway. I gotta get Protea done here. So, just to remind us all about exactly how Temporal Anchor is described and works. Drops a Temporal Anchor, which, after a short duration, Protea rewinds to, triggering a temporal implosion. Word salad. Implosion damage increases based on damage dealt between Anchor Drop and Rewind. Damage dealt to Protea or by Protea. I think it's by Protea. We'll check in a sec. Everything lost or expended in that time is returned. Dying while Anchor is active rewinds Protea to the Anchor, saving her. Protea is knocked down and the Anchor vanishes. Okay. There's a lot of wibbly wobbly gamey wamey stuff there. A lot to track. 25% of each damage instance dealt by Protea from her weapons and abilities whilst anchored is recorded beneath the reticle, and that becomes the implosion. Okay. That's going to be a toughie. That is going to be a toughie. It's localized time shifts. It's like using rewind and approach alone. Yeah. Going to say implosion could be a reworked fireball already mapped to the force damage scaling effective level by successful attack count during a duration, potentially. Let me think. Hold on. Are you saying fireball? Actually, delayed fireball gives us somewhere we can start from. Delayed Fireball gives us somewhere we can start from. Because that is functionally a fireball, which can grow over time. The longer you leave it, the more power it's got. So we can just have a straight time scaling rather than a damage scaling, or damage-based scaling. We have time-based scaling, again, to just make it easier for the DM to adjudicate. In terms of the reversal, let's see, how do we want to handle reversal of... Do reverse abilities used? I'm going to say no. No? How do we want to handle this? I do want to keep it still balanced as a challenge 19, not an accidental challenge 30. But this in itself, well, it's going to add damage in, so we can't go over crazy on it. Instead of undoing things basically means that Protea can take it twice, right? Protea can take 200 damage, undo it, and then take 200 damage again. Protea's taken the damage twice, right? So, we can instead say Protea takes half damage. It's the ultimate ability of the frame? Yeah, but we still need it to be challenge 19 or thereabouts. I can't just throw any number in there. Protea deals 5,000 damage, way! Because that breaks the game. That's the whole point of creating this. Yes, it's ultimate, but that doesn't mean we can do whatever we damn well please. It's not a 12 level wish. So, what I'm thinking is that we can go with turn on. Temporal displacement means we have resistance to all damage. Yeah, resistance to all damage and advantage to save against non-damaging spells. Legendary actions? Not with this, no. Protea's going to have enough going on. I'm not going to add legendary actions in. On top of that, then, it has the growing implosion power. So we'll go with a temporal energy just sheathed around Protea. When Protea relinquishes that, Protea backs out of it safely. The implosion hits non-allies. The amount of hit is scaled on time. So it's kind of charging it up. Is there a damage type that harms across planes in 5e? Technically, no. If something can be damaged across planes, it can be damaged across planes. Otherwise, it can't. It's not about damage type, Ray. Force is the damage type which crosses planes more than anything, in that Force can hit creatures which typically cannot otherwise be hit because they're ethereal of some type. So Force would be the one, if anything, there. I was already gearing towards Force damage for this explosion as well, yeah. I'm going to say, maybe instead of fixing all damage, recharge the charge of either the satellites or turret ability. We've already got that in Dispensary, which I'm going to be leveling up so that it can recover both Grenade Fan and Blaze Artillery. Sorry, either Grenade Fan and Blaze Artillery. Force can hit incorporeal enemies, if it says so. All damage types in 5e are just labels. They only do something if it says so on the monster involved. Otherwise, they're literally just fluff at that point. The difference between fire damage and poison damage is yes, until told otherwise. So yeah, we got our factors there. We got turning the time rewind. We can keep the positioning, so when undone, Protea goes back to where it was cast. Half the damage taken for the temporal shift rather than undoing the damage, just to keep it simpler for the DM to handle. And then the explosion scales on time basis rather than damage dealt basis to make it more consistent. Since the time stuff, why don't we have the explosion consumer spell slot, which is chosen on explosion rather than on cast, because time stuff. I'm not using time spell slots for the Warframes. They all have leveled spell features. They're void powers. So it's more like Lavos than it is like most other Warframes. My Lavos bias is bleeding through there. So they can't cast Grenade Fan instead of Dispensary. If a DM wanted to allow that, they can. The levels are there as a guideline for all kinds of things. That is included. So if a DM wants to say they cast Grenade Fan instead of Dispensary, yeah, go for it. I've not got a problem with that. It will probably break the game on some Warframes, so be careful. But yeah, sure, go for it. Whatever. See what happens. Would this cast at potential death as well? Yeah, so let's have that as well. If Protea would be reduced to 0 hit points while this is active, instantly end spell, return to spot at 1 health. Yeah, we'll have that as well. The question is, do we make this concentration? Oh, of course, it's obvious. Is it? Wait. Oh, yeah. 1 health or higher health, but prone like the in-game version. No, we'll go 1 health. We'll go 1 health. It just gives Protea that moment of, oh shit! You've survived, but how long are you going to survive for? Literally 1 hit. Because at this level, even if you go for like 40 hit points, it's still technically 1 hit to a lot of things. But yeah, concentration to end it early as well could be an interesting counterplay to it. The problem is that I've not gone for a Constitution save for Protea, so with only a +3 to it, that concentration is going to be relatively easy to break. We could also make it where Protea becomes immune to damage until the start of its next turn, when the spell ends. To give it that brief moment of, oh shit. And if the players are smart enough, if they realise what's happening, they'll ready an attack for when Protea does something and then smack it. We could do that. If they're smart enough, they can get in the way. That also means action economy being used for ready actions rather than use actions. Protea's allies can get in the way of that. Yada, yada, yada. Yeah, I'm really thinking similar concerns. I think we have a working idea here, so let's make this working idea happen because we got technically 8 minutes to do it in. Spell, I'm going to make this 1 bonus action again, just like the dispensary. 1, it takes a point away from dispensary's usage. 2, it means that Protea can do something with the Temple Anchor straight away. It's going to last for a maximum of 1 minute. And is concentration. Do I capitalize that? I'm gonna capitalize it. Concentration. That's something to check on the review of the entire document. Make it all caps or not caps. Time warps around Protea as it shifts just slightly out of sync with the rest of the world. For the duration, Protea has resistance to all damage. And has advantage to save against non-damaging spells. That's to deal with, you know, things which might restrain Protea or dominate Protea. If it's a non-damaging one, Protea can more strongly resist it, just giving that extra buffer of power to it. But it's only against non-damaging spells. You can still somehow just grab Protea and shove them to the ground. Go figure. So, for the duration, Protea is resistant to all damage and has advantage to save against non-damaging spells. When the spell would end, Protea becomes intangible for a moment, rapidly reversing its steps to return to the location it cast the spell from. Or the nearest unoccupied space. If necessary. Just had a thought, Garuda will be absolutely terrifying to encounter in D&D. Yeah, Garuda I actually got the chance to show to, I think it was Reb, Megan, and I think Taylor had a look as well, whilst I was over in Canada. Definitely at least Reb and Megan. I had the opportunity to show them that. And, E, F, G... No, that's Jaya, Grendel, Gauss. Come on, damn it. Too many G's. Garuda. Yeah, Garuda's got some pretty nasty ones. Garuda levitates a few feet into the air, hovering briefly as it conjures animated duplicates of its talons. Garuda targets every non-friendly creature in a 90-foot cone in front of it, ignoring cover and invisibility. Each targeted creature must make a dexterity saving throw. On a failure, the creature becomes vulnerable to slashing damage, which means they take double damage. For the spell duration, at the start of Garuda's turns, each affected creature may make a Constitution saving throw. On a success, the spell effect ends on that creature. Okay, all it does is target them and make it where they take double damage. Problem is then is that everything else Garuda has is pure slash, including Bloodlust. While Garuda is below half health, Garuda deals double damage with its weapon attacks. It all scales into the sheer attacks it can make, including with its talons dealing 15 slash and 7 necrotic per attack, 2 attacks as a multi-attack. And then an extra attack as a quick attack. So 3 attacks a turn. Yeah, Garuda's pretty spicy. I've done a few of these. There we are. Alright, we got to the bottom. I've done a few of them. Yeah, mostly alphabetical. If the new release comes out earlier in the alphabet, once I passed it, tough, it'll have to wait. That's how I've been doing it. So I've already done Kalervo, but haven't done Dagath, haven't done Citrine. Okay, Temple Anchor. Time warps around Piss off, fly. Time warps around Protea as it shifts just slightly out of sync with the rest of the world. For the duration, Protea is resistant to all damage and has advantage to save against non-damaging spells. When this spell, not the spell, when this spell would end, Protea becomes intangible for a moment, rapidly reversing its steps to return to the nearest unoccupied space to where it casts the spell. No, from where it casts the spell. There we are. Yeah. Speaking of, what are you thinking of doing Dagath at the end or in a stream or two? So I will cover Warframes earlier in the alphabet once I've got to the end of the alphabet. It's their fault for trying to jump the queue. They have to wait. They have to wait. I just chose that as the way to handle things, so it's the way I'm handling it. That's all. Okay, so while Temporal Anchor is active, a shimmering veil of temporal particles build up around Protea. Next one is called Korvax. What? Oh, with a Q. Korvax. 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 Okay. Alright. I'll have to have a look at the details later, obviously. While Temporal Anchor is active, a shimmering... how did I spell shimmering like that? Shimmering veil of temporal particles build up around Protea. Accumulating... No. We'll go into description now. Build up around Protea. when this spell ends, this veil implodes destructively as Protea vanishes back the way it came. All creatures, all non-friendly creatures within, let's go big. I have the radius increase as well. Let's start with a decent radius and just increase the radius as well as damage. This should be scary. Okay, all non-friendly creatures within 40 feet of Protea at the moment the spell ends. No, all within 40 feet of Protea before it returns backwards. It's just a simple way I'm going to put that. So all non-friendly creatures within 40 feet of Protea before it returns backwards must make a Constitution saving throw, DC 20. On a failed save, each creature takes some amount of a force. Yeah, we're going force damage, or half on a successful save. Range could be 10 feet times time spent in time shift. No, it needs to start at a decent range to begin with. Then we can increase it from there. But I can still go up 10 feet at a time. So it'll get to a max of 140 feet. Which is ridiculous. Should Protea get advantage on saves while Anchor is active so it doesn't get knocked out the first time it takes damage? I'm going to say no on that. However, Protea will have resistance. And then if Protea wants to try and find a way to be granted advantage, that's where it can happen. So Protea could work with, I think there's a few different frames that can give advantage there. Or other bonuses. It's having a weak point to address. But with the resistance to damage, it means that to get past the minimum DC 10, something would need to hit Protea for 44 damage? Yeah, 44, because 44 halves to 22 for resistance, and then half again for the Constitution check, which should be a DC 11. Because it's half damage taken. So yeah. It'll be DC 10 unless Protea takes more than 44 damage in a single hit before resistance is counted for. Which is a pretty hefty ask. Even at Challenge 19, it's still a pretty hefty ask, that one there. Single hit. It does mean that Protea is more vulnerable to multiple attacks rather than single hits, because they can force that a DC 10 to be rolled multiple times over. Protea has a pass rate of 70% on that. So it can go either way. And there are ways and means to give Protea bonuses to that. I think that should be okay, but again, it'll need checking. It'll need checking. So yeah, on a failed save, each creature takes some amount of force damage, or half as much on a successful save. The range... for each time Protea starts a new turn while temporal anchor is still active, the range increases by 10 feet. So the radius. Damage radius, there we are. That's specific. The damage radius increases by 10 feet, and the damage roll increases by, and we'll need to figure that out. Not 70%-ish, Umbrella, it's 70%. For anything that's DC 10 anyway, yeah. So I suppose 70%-ish is correct. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the concentration can still get broken pretty easily. It's still a 30% failure rate, which is substantial. That's nearly 1 in 3. Protea gets attacked 3 times here. More likely it's going to get dropped. But at the same time, Protea shouldn't be alone. Protea should have other things around. Protea should be causing players to want to back off in various ways or getting in their way. There are other, Warframes which can apply disadvantage to attacks through restraining them, through adding cover into places. Protea's got resistance to damage. All kind of things can get in the way. It is up to the players to figure out the weaknesses and then exploit those weaknesses, and Protea is supposed to have weaknesses. We got a plus 12 on the dex. That means even using something targeting Protea's dex is going to have a bad time. Protea's got saves against non-damaging spells. A hold person is going to have a more difficult time. It adds up. Mostly. But yeah. Protea's supposed to have weaknesses. All Warframe's supposed to have weaknesses, so the players can still kill them. The players are supposed to win. Eventually. We're just trying to make it interesting and difficult along the way. So, now let's figure out this damage. Yeah, it's pretty horrible, right? Yeah. So what I'm going to do with this, let's imagine that Temporal Anchor is cast straight away. I'll figure out all the other damage that comes in, and then decide on how much damage Temporal Anchor needs to make up the rest of the damage. Let's work through it from that side. Now, as we're granting resistance to the hit points here for an unknown duration, we can effectively increase Protea's hit points by a substantial amount in the calculation, but not a huge amount. That'll increase it by probably around about 20% or so. Between 20 to 40%, but probably closer to 20%. I say that because concentration means it can still be broken pretty soon on. So, running with Temporal Anchor, that happens first. We've already upgraded the damage rolls here, so multi-attack with the repeating crossbow for 33 damage. Calculator time. So now we've got the 33 from the basic attack that'll be done alongside Temporal Anchor. Next turn, let's assume that we use Blaze Artillery with Moment of Inspiration. So just got off work. Do we have Temporal Anchor resetting HP spell slots when it finishes? No, Ray. So what I've got Temporal Anchor doing is halving the damage taken, which is equivalent to recovering the health lost. Because if Protea would lose health and then gain it back, they're going to have to take twice as much damage, which is about the same as taking half the damage in the first place. If anything, it's slightly weaker, but that's fine. That's fine. It's less busy work, more than anything. The DM's going to have plenty enough to handle, so if we can reduce the busy work, that is great. Oh, I didn't put in the Deathless bit. Let's put that in before I continue figuring out the numbers here. If Protea would be reduced to 0 hit points while Temporal Anchor is active, Protea instead drops to 1 hit point, drops concentration on Temporal Anchor immediately, and becomes immune to... Yeah. And it becomes immune to damage until the start of its next turn. There we are. That adds a little deathless bit in. That's fine. But it's saying, so assuming a base concentration check of 10, 2 attacks give 51% of knocking her out of it, 3 65.7, 4 75.99, 5 is 83% chance, continuing logarithmically, of course. Yeah, that makes sense. So it's a pretty high chance of it ending for her. Pretty high. Which is fine, really. It'll still happen. It's just if she can convince the players to attack anything other than her, or to try and use things other than attacks, she wins. What are her spell slots? It's based on the spell she has. So she's not got spell slots like a classical wizard. She's more like a warlock with Vancian casting. She has a single cast of Grenade Fan, Blaze Artillery, Dispensary, and at this level, Temporal Anchor. Dispensary will allow her to recover 1 cast of either Grenade Fan or Blaze Artillery as well, for a total of 5 spells cast, which is more than enough to cover your typical encounters. And that's recharge on a short rest. Because we don't need to deal with concentration in Warframe. Not once you got Prime Sure-Footed equipped. When you think about it. Okay, so yeah, we got 33 damage on the initial turn. Then we got Blaze Artillery. So this is going to come in with... on hit, creature takes 10. So it'll be 2 lots of 10 for 20, which we assume Moments of Inspiration double up for 40. 40 damage from that. Next turn again, we can assume Grenade Fan is used. This is going to be 13 damage to 3 creatures. Most likely. 13 damage to 3 is 39. And also we're saying that Blaze Artillery will hit again, which will hit for 44. Yo! I'm sorry. Jhygildowan. Give me a moment. I'm going to need to sound your name out here. Maybe it's a W disguised as a J. Why Gildowan? Why Gildowan? Let's go with that. Why Gildowan? I have no idea how I'm supposed to say that otherwise. Thank you very much for subscribing with your prime. Welcome into the channel proper. You can enjoy the very last episode of this tea first. Cheers for subscribing here. Enjoy your lovely blue sub badge, your emotes, your access to the supporter tea lounge, the premium channel on my Discord, and no more ads for you here on the channel. I have no idea how I'm supposed to pronounce your username otherwise. Sorry though. I kept saying you have to actually hit her for those cons throws in the first place. AC 19, Dex Saver plus 12 does not make that easy. No, but AC 19 at Challenge 19 isn't as amazing as you might think. Because the players, if they're at, say, level 15, to make this a more difficult encounter, level 15 you'll have a proficiency of plus 5. And you'll probably have plus 4 or plus 5 in your attack stat. Let's say plus 5. Plus 5 on both of those. That gives you a plus 10 to hit. AC 19 with a plus 10 to hit. You only need a 9 to hit. Now that does increase the odds for Protea of keeping it running for more turns. But that's not a huge number to roll. 9 to hit is really manageable. Really is. So yeah, I think using concentration and a plus 3 on the con, I think that really balances out. That should be fine enough. Where was I in the numbers here? So we've got 33 on the initial cast from basic attacks. We've got 40 on the next turn from Blaze Artillery hitting 2 people. Assuming hitting 2. Then we got 39 from the Grenade Fan. Followed up by 44 from Blaze Artillery. Again, I'm using the 10 plus 1 for 11. Hitting 2 creatures for 22. And doubled by Moment of Inspiration, 44. That's the assumption I'm working with there. Using it in that method, that comes to 156 damage across 3 turns. What we are expecting at this level would be... quite a bit more. Somewhere closer to the region of 285 damage by this tier. Oh, I clicked on something. Where did I click? Oh, fine. It just blinked. Jai says like Jai Gildowan, like Guild Owen. Jai Gildowan. Okay, Jai Gildowan. You know what? I can read that now. Jai Gildowan. There we are. Thanks for letting me know on that. What we got there? The Witch Fox? Cheers. Brody's saying 55% chance of hitting her. Oh, no. 9 to hit is 60%. Because you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 missing. 5% each. 8 times 5 is 40%. So it's 60% to hit. 55% hit, 1, and then 5% crit. Just FYI. Anywho, yeah, so look at this damage output here. We've got room for quite a bit of damage on this Temple Anchor. We've got room for quite a bit of damage. Now, we have to be careful. I can't overcook this, because at the same time, Moment of Inspiration can be used on Temporal Anchor. We've got to be careful not to overcook it, because that, that could be spicy. That could definitely be spicy. But I have got room for around about 140 damage. If they use Moment of Inspiration on this and not Blaze Artillery, 180, which Moment of Inspiration down becomes 90. So yeah, if I aim for a base of 90 across 2 creatures, that'd be 45 per creature. Let's see, 45. How can I get to that nicely? D8 can do it, because I could do 2d8 is 9. 5 9s is 45, so I could do 10d8. That sounds nice. 10d8, yeah. So, on a failed save, creature takes 45, that is 10d8 force damage, or half on a successful save. Each time Protea starts a new turn while Temporal Anchor is active, the damage radius increases by 10 feet, and the damage roll increases by... let's give it a 20% boost, so that would be 9 2d8. There we are. And put this on the end here. This will be... I'd say this is... When we put this all together, the resistance to everything, the advantage on saves, the damage bomb, and the prevention of death. I'm going to make this a full 9th level. Counter that. I mean, sure, it's not quite a meteor swarm or a wish, but it's close. Just thought, rules are written, the Moment of Inspiration wouldn't be applicable to Vigor Heal from Dispensary, intentional or not? Would it not? What have I written here? Protea is ever tinkering for maximum results. On making an attack or casting a spell, Protea may use Moment of Inspiration feature to enhance the effect. Any dice rolls for damage or granting temporary hit points. Oh, yeah, good point. Yeah, I specified temporary there, didn't I? Aha. Okay, yeah. Any type of hit points. And I'll put that on this one as well. Any type of hit points, but I won't put it on the other two. So the specification just helps reinforce where it's intended to be used, which is the grenade fan. I think that should work. But very good catch there. So Protea is ever tinkering for maximum results. On making an attack or casting a spell, Protea may use the Moment of Inspiration feature to enhance the effect. Any dice rolls for damage or granting any type of hit points from that attack or spell are rolled twice and added together. This feature must be used before any attack rolls or saving throws are made. Yeah, that's fine. Do I have a text box space? Yeah, I have a text box space below the Protea Adept. I'm going to make something clear about that. Let's go here. Moment of Inspiration. The Moment of Inspiration. And why is that so close? I want that lower. There we go. The Moment of Inspiration feature lasts for the entire duration of a spell that it is attached to. For example, when used with Grenade Fan, all the devices deal roll twice the damage dice throughout the spell duration, and all the damaging devices and all the hit point granting devices roll double the hit points when attached. Just to make it very, very clear that it applies throughout, not just as a one-off. So again, it's supposed to be used on a spell cast, but it can also be used on normal attacks. Just to keep things interesting. And that, fitting into that little box there, filling in a bit of space that we get between these pages, which is, again, part of the design of having all this space to work with. Okay, so recheck on Temporal Anchor, make sure it sounds sensible. Time warps around Protea as it shifts just slightly out of sync with the rest of the world. For the duration, Protea has resistance to all damage and has advantage to save against non-damaging spells. When this spell would end, Protea becomes intangible for a moment, rapidly reversing its steps to return to the nearest unoccupied space from where it casts the spell. While Temporal Anchor is active, a shimmering veil of temporal particles build up around Protea. When the spell ends, this veil implodes destructively as Protea vanishes back the way it came. All non-friendly creatures within 40 feet of Protea before it returns backwards must make a Constitution saving throw. On failed save, each creature takes 45 force damage, or half on a successful save. Each time Protea starts a new turn while Temporal Anchor is still active, the damage radius increases by 10 feet, and the damage roll increases by 9. If Protea would be reduced to 0 hit points while Temporal Anchor is active, Protea instead drops to 1 hit point, drops concentration on Temporal Anchor immediately, and becomes immune to damage until the start of its next turn. Yeah, I think that covers it pretty nicely. I don't have any issue with that description whatsoever. I'm quite happy with that. I still need to wrap up the other details about Protea herself up here. Not the Adept, not the Master, the Prime. Here we go. So the Prime's got the saving throws in the right places, but I also need to add in the condition immunities, which go below senses. Condition immunities. This is all going to fit on one page, isn't it? Yeah, looks like it'll be fine. Condition immunities, prone and restrained, because I give every single Prime basically Prime sure-footed. It just makes sense to me. And damage resistances and immunities, I'm not going to give this Protea any. A lot of Primes will get one, not this Protea, because it gets enough of that from Grenade Fan and Temporal Anchor. So with that, I think we're good. Alright, Kirby. Thank you for dropping by, and thank you for dropping your sub here as well. We'll catch you in a later stream. But I say, would it be worthwhile specifying that the implosion does not occur on Death Recall? Or are you including that as well, going against the game? Oh, I'm including that as well. Screw the game. I'm having that happen as well, absolutely. I want you to just picture this. You got 4 people surrounding Protea there, wailing at her, trying to fight with all they can, trying to break the concentration on this thing, but it just won't die. They're coming in for the killing blow. The DM says, how do you want to do this? Like, oh yeah. So I cut right through her head, chop her head clean off. And you come in for the cut, and just as your blade should be carving through her neck, the particles around her collapse inwards. Protea vanishes before your eyes, a spectral apparition of her, backflipping the way she came just moments before, and in its wake, the particles implode, blasting all of you in the face. And it's taken you rather a while to get here, so all 4 of you please make Constitution saving throws. Oh, it is evil. It is absolutely evil. Pull the how do you want to do this? Now try next turn. She's over there, and she can't die until the start of her next turn. But you don't actually tell them that last bit. New Warframe name, Corvex? Good to know, thanks Ray. D20, do you survive? Sacred Raider, I need to know first of all, what is your constitution modifier? You haven't told me that. What's your constitution modifier, and do you have proficiency in saving on constitution? You guys need to be declaring these details with your rolls, otherwise I'm going to take them at base numbers. What level are you? I have no idea of what you're working on. In fact, you know how we can do this? What is your favourite Warframe, Snake Raider? It's Uranius. Ah, it's Urania. I haven't done stats for it. What is your favourite Warframe that comes earlier in the alphabet than Protea? What's your favourite one that comes earlier in the alphabet than Protea? We'll use that. And I hope you don't think too long about this, because otherwise we're all going to be waiting here for ages. And if you say either Citrine or Dagath, I'm going to ban you. You don't remember other frames. Alright, fair enough. In which case, you don't have a stat, you have a +0. Snake Raider, you are dead. Sorry. Come back another day. That's the rules. You didn't use a Warframe. You were clearly in operator mode. That's too much damage. You're dead. Do not pass go. Do not collect 200 XP. Thank you, I've been your DM. Rocks fall, you die specifically. I have once used a rocks fall situation on my players, but it wasn't rocks fall, everyone dies. But they were climbing down a large, scraggy cliff face, which I made it clear to them was extremely treacherous, and they went for it anyway. So when they rolled too low, rocks fall. So do you. That was a fun moment. They survived, sadly. I mean, luckily. Definitely luckily. I think I'm satisfied with how this came out. The formatting has been a little bit unfortunate, putting the last bit of that up there. Not too happy with that. But yeah, it'll do. It'll do. Longshot Frames, hey Ken, please help me prove a disagreement. On the dev stream, say Plague Star is November 7th, and we still get built form from it. What? Longshot, I have no idea what you're asking me to do. You've not finished. You've not finished. We still get built former? I don't know. I mean, the best answer is wait until it's actually in the game to see what D have decided, because they have a tendency to decide things like the night before. We've seen this happen. Actually, sometimes they decide things a week later. We've also seen that happen, so... wait for it to actually get to the game, just to be certain. Oh, yeah, just to be clear, yeah, I haven't watched the dev stream. I was too busy streaming here. But yeah. So say hello chat, hello Kenjir, first time here, love seeing the Homebrew Master at work, can't wait to watch more. Well, I'm glad you look forward to more. On that note, we're done with Protea, so we'll have to address the next Warframe that I do on stream in another stream. And if you are a subscriber, either subscriber here on Twitch, or if you are a member on YouTube, or if you are a patron on Patreon, any of those three gives you access to Supporter Tea Lounge on my Discord, and then also gives you access to the Variety Friday poll to vote for the game or stream that you would like to see on another Friday stream. This one was voted for this week by those people who have access to that channel, and it was voted for 3 weeks ago as well, so apparently it's quite popular at the moment. So yeah, if you want to be able to vote on this, if you want to see more of this, that's the way to do it. Say, I found the Warframe list too late now, I guess. We'll have to cover it another time, Snake. I am very aware of the fact that I have run now to 10:30. So, yeah. Oh, Cosmo is found. They got 4 strength, 1 dex, 16 con, 1 int, 15 words, 8 char. Oh, interesting. All right, Cosmo. Let's give you a level. Cosmo, are you in education or employment at the moment? And if so, which one? Let's see if we can put together a stat for you. See if your roll was good enough. Because you rolled a 17. I remember that. You've got 16 con, which gives you a +3. Actually, that's enough in itself. Yeah, we don't need to know your level. We don't need to know your level. You got 17, +3 from con, that's 20. You made your saving throw. You take half damage. You're probably still dead because you're not an adventurer, but you made your saving throw. It's fine, Cosmo. You'll be fine. I'm sure you'll be fine. Don't try fighting a Warframe. Got that commoner 1d4 HP? No, commoners get 1d8. Average 4. Yeah, commoners get 4 hit points in 5e. Yeah. Does that mean you live? Let's see. You're in employment. Okay, Cosmo. Let's give you a level. Let's give you a level and take it from there. Can House Cats still one-shot commoners in 5e? Don't think they can. No, I think they have a 1d1 damage roll. Yeah, Snake, I have. Yeah, Umbrella. Commoners have 4 hit points. It's in the monster manual. Which frame is Protea again? Protea is Protea. You get them from the Gran Void after completing the Deadlock Protocol quest. You mean in the actual video game? Oh, Warframe. You mean what's the 1, 2, 3, and 4? Oh, okay. It is Grenade Fan, Blaze Artillery, Dispensary, and Temporal Anchor. I just read that off my page here. I use the same names. How do you go about homebrew monster CR level? That's a whole conversation in and of itself. Basically, I've got a set of templated details for challenge rating averages put together by the blog of holding.com. There's a very useful monster stats by challenge rating sheet which I use as a reference and a guide to keep things all together. I verified it myself. It is pretty damn accurate. Cosmo. No, we didn't finish with you. Cosmo, you're not allowed to go yet. Cosmo! You didn't answer. Or I didn't get around to my question with you. You're in employment, you said that. So, what level of employment would we put you at? Are you bottom rung of whatever work you're in? Like, anyone could walk into that job with no experience? Are you skilled worker? Are you lower management? Are you upper management? Or are you lord of the company kind of deal? Because we don't do CEO for D&D, it's lord of the company. Where are we putting you? Tier 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4? 0 for bottom rung, it's your commoners. Then 1, 2, 3, and 4 tier. What tier are we putting you, Cosmo? You guess 0. It's a bottom rung. Okay, so that gives you unleveled hit points. You have 4 hit points, and you made your con save of 20. Protea deals 45 damage to you. You are instantly obliterated as the force damage, which is basically magical radiation, just tears through your body. Your soul is just shorn from the decaying remnants of what used to be your corpse. Protea returns back to where she came from, and your soul is in the hands of the afterlife now. Andrew, is it wrong? Did you hear me wrong, apparently? Because that sounds pretty accurate. Atoms are scattered into temporal tides? Yeah, pretty much. Still better than no employment at all. If there's no employment at all, I'd have to go down a different route of determining the level. But yeah. It's a tier 0. Sorry to say, that's a big fat rip right there. Because I will sometimes give shopkeepers and other non-adventuring NPCs levels in their class to give them hit points, like a merchant class, just kind of not really classified, not written down per se, just enough to give them more plot armor than 4 hit points, basically. Unemployed is tier -1. No, unemployed is also tier 0, because you could walk into bottom rung employment. If you're unemployed without skills, if you have skills behind you, you just haven't done it, you're not in it at the moment, then it'd be, okay, what's your highest level of education or employment? Where did you get up to? Where did you get to since you retired into forced unemployment? Anyway. Are we going to give Protea the ability to get after the war within or no? We mean operator? Are we going to give Protea and all of the Warframes child soldiers for players to fight? Hell no. You didn't want to spoil it? Tsuki, firstly, don't worry about it. Second of all, pretty much everyone here has completed the entire quest line. If not everyone here, don't worry about it. Thirdly, it's been out for so many years, that quest now, honestly. It's not that big of a spoiler. DE put the operator front and center in all over the places. They made the Drifter, for a while at least, a starting tutorial quest line. Yeah. Let's not worry about it. But yeah, in terms of all this, I've got the background here for Warframes as I'm creating this document. It is adapted from Warframe, but into something that can fit better into your typical D&D setting. So Warframe's the result of cruel experimentation in the pursuit of a machine of war, humanoids infected with an unnatural disease, crafted to turn flesh into armor, body to weapon, and mind to obedience. The experiment was mostly successful, failing only in obedience. How these Warframes ever proved useful in war has been lost to time, and now they are feral, unbound, plundering whatever and whomever to establish a horde. Their horde is not unlike that of a dragon, both in its wealth and its defences. Warframes have a particular affinity for collecting powerful magical weapons and armour, or the resources to create more. Warframes, as we know them. All of this is completely done without operators. There is no operator in this document, and there never will be. Because it's already shaking off us playing as child soldiers. I am not ever going to have a table where I just drop in front of people, hey, here's the bad guys, they're children. Kill the children. I'm not doing that. Nope. That's well too far. So I won't put that in this document. That's my veto. You think about the Warframe being playable? Yeah, these are all done up as monsters. Warframes individually just don't really work as player classes, in my opinion. You'd have to bring in features from all kinds of Warframes, or, like you're suggesting, bring in the operator abilities as well, to really kind of flesh out a class. And at the same time, it would be odd running with a Warframe, which is basically a mishmash of concepts that don't quite fit as a class in D&D. Whereas these, as monsters, they can have the very limited abilities that Warframes have. They can have the very limited fleshing out of details and identities that Warframes have. They are creatures to encounter and be terrified of. I don't have to reinvent the entirety of D&D 5e for players. I can just create the monsters, and that allows me to fit all the monsters, all the Warframes, at multiple tiers, Prime, Master, Adept, and Initiate, to be fought at levels 1 to 4, or 1 to 5, something like that. Yeah, levels 1 to 4, levels 6 to 10, levels 11 to 16, I think it goes up to for that tier, and then level 17 plus. Something like that. Tsuki, I am entirely not sure. I'll be quite honest with you. Entirely not sure. But I said we could run a game where the players are Grenier Corpus trapped on a sabotage ship trying to escape a Warframe. You absolutely could, yeah. Yeah, you absolutely could have that kind of situation. Adapting that more to like a D&D setting, or more typical D&D setting, I was thinking something along the lines of adventuring party have been put together. We need you to go deal with the Royal Black Ship. It is a prison ship. It was bringing over prisoners of war. Something went wrong. The ship has run aground. No one has come off the ship. No one has managed to get to the ship and come back alive. We need you to investigate what the hell is up with the ship. What prisoners were they carrying? And where are the crew? You go to investigate, and you discover the crew tried capturing a Warframe. It didn't go well. And now you are in this crashed, wrecked ship with others possibly hiding out there who are probably not going to be very friendly at this point. And there's an entire dungeon for you to explore. At the heart of it all, perhaps prowling around, is a Warframe. I think that could be pretty spicy. Anyway, now I really do have to stop rambling. This has been wonderful. We've got Protea fully done up. I will be continuing this project as, I mean, I've gone this far. I've got, what, 137 pages it says there. Of course I'm going to keep going. But for now, this is where we're going to have to wrap up. On Sunday, we'll be back to good old Warframe proper. And, well, good news. I'm going to be doing over 20 giveaways, so look forward to that. That includes a Grendel Prime Access, so look forward to that as well. So many Grendel Prime Access for you guys. You've been absolutely gorging on these. It also means I'll be in a maid outfit. Because we reached $5,500 raised. I didn't think that was possible in this community. I have underestimated all of you 4 times over now, it seems. So I'll see you on Sunday for what I've been made to do. Catch you then. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye, y'all.